far. Now I dwell in the sand like a fish on land. Like a fish on land. This place must be hell. No more cookies in this jar. Did I take it too far? Now I dwell in the sand like a fish on land. Seagrass was all I found. An alternative hell. No more cookies in this jar. Did I take it too far? Now I dwell in the sand like a fish on land. But I'm deep, deep down on the bottom of a well. I don't belong, can't you tell? This place must be hell. No more cookies in this jar. Did I take it too far? Now I dwell in the sand like a fish on land.
Target acquired.
Eagle 1, first strike. You have permission to engage the target.
Warning: the following video contains explicit language which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Well, am I there? Oh, wait, that's what I did. Great. My bad, guys. Sorry about that. My bad. Too much. That Monday night thing goofs me up a little bit, and I really had it messed up this week because they did everything through Discord. So whatever, it is what it is. Welcome back, everyone, to the show. It is going to be a great time tonight. I kind of promise you that. I've been having some technical difficulties tonight. Yeah, I should be back now. There we go. I don't know what's going on with this everything tonight. It's just been. I may need to do something here, but that's okay. We'll figure it out. It's fine. Whatever. It is what it is. Good evening, guys. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. We're gonna have a good time tonight. I don't know if you guys caught the debate, if you want to call it that, that went on Monday night. I mean, it was cool. It was cool. I got some good swings in there, but there seems to be this kind of weirdness where they what's the word I'm looking for here? They hmm, they just kind of go down these really weird paths that have nothing to do with the actual argument or taking a position on the argument, and it's just, I don't know, man. It's just odd. It's just odd. Which is, and when they do that, I just kind of like, I just shut up. like like why do I need to um why do I need to do that? So I mean, it is what it is. Um, the just can't whatever. It's fine. At any rate, good to see everybody in the good to see everybody out there. Glad to see everyone is having a good time. See who we got out there in the house tonight. Let's see. It's showtime. That's right. They get way off topic for long periods of time. That's right, Damien. They really do. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not complaining. I'm not bitching about it or anything. I'm just saying it's just odd to me, you know? It's just one of those things that is um just kind of odd. And I don't know, I don't know. I don't know how to make it all work out. I guess it just is what it is. So whatever. Um, but it'll be fine. And yeah, so that's all good. Um, and yeah, I'm trying to feel like that. I feel like that it's a very I don't know, man. It feels like it's just a really um, I don't know how to say this, man. Look, I really appreciate being there. I'm glad that they give me the opportunity to go there and to hang out with them and really be a part of it. But at the same time, um, the at the same time, it's I don't know. It's been kind of a pain. So um, whatever. Terry Yock in the house. Kevin L in the house. What is up, guys? Khaled in the house. Man, we got it. We got people rolling in left and right. Kevin Lander says, "What's popping, old man?" I don't know, man. I got no idea. It is what it is. They get way off topic for too long periods of time. Yeah, but I don't know how to deal with that. Teriak, man. Hey, man, if you want to pop up on, I know that you had said that you were, you were having some, you were taking some time off. So glad to see you out out on the circuit tonight. And if you want to um, find one of the moderators in Discord, and they can make that happen for you. I did not put the link in the moderator channel, but I can give it to you. Just go to the shed, and I'll throw that. Yeah, it's been a while. Good to see everybody out there, guys. It's going to be a good show, I think. There's some things going on out there that I don't know. My phone's blowing up tonight, guys. I apologize. Things are going nuts here. Let me see who is what is this? Sorry, guys. That's very unprofessional of me. That's all right. I sent them the voicemail. Dude, they're doing whatever they can to just like jack everything up before the Trump takes over, right? They just got to get all this stuff up. LSD or 70s flashback on the new intro. I don't know how to get rid of that spinning square thing. I've been trying. It's built into the thing, and I just haven't been able to figure it out. I might be able to. I don't know what's up with the drones. I've heard literally like every story now about these stupid drones. I have no idea what's going on with them. I don't know that I really care, guys, to be honest with you. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. Let's see. Let me the mods have the link and all of that, so that's cool. Let's see. Let me find Teriak here and send him a link so he can jump up on the show. If he wants to, that'd be cool. Be cool if he did. The drones are a threat. They mugged you and took your underwear. No, Anson, you left your underwear wherever it was that you partied last night. That's what happened, young sir. Interesting. So, all right. Let's see what else is going on. Let me go back. Let me start. Anson Knowles was in the house. He might have been first. 13 was next. Imperious is in the house. TR Finley is in the house. Ticky Tack. You gotta DM me, bro. I got a swag bag to send out to you for the earlier donation drive thing that we did. And I just want to get you that. Damien, the parkour guy, is out there. I caught one of his streams the other day. It's not bad. I don't know if you're on my the HBA forum yet, Damien, but you should be. They've been talking a lot about ultralights lately. Nick, the Vengeful Truther, is in the house. TVT is in the house. El Shipo Dago, cool to see you, buddy. Good to see you. I've already mentioned Khaled. I've already mentioned so many. And, of course, Kevin, I talked to you on the phone today. Teriak, please hit me up if you want to be up here. Old Joe, I see you out there, brother. Smoking Spaceman, good to see you. I have heard about the ridiculous spinning bell. Just put that up on the channel, and that's good. John Deadman's here. He's a cool dude. When he's not really like blasting out. I got you, Ticky Tack. I got you. Got you. So for you guys that don't know, anybody that sent in super chats over $20, I just kind of threw names in a hat, and I drew names out. Tiki Tack gets a sweet Cat Daddy swag bag. I mean, I think it's cool. Maybe I don't know. I don't want to judge. I don't want to say that something's cool. It may not be. I don't know. You're a good guy. You promise. All right. Good. Good. I got all the chat up on the screen. I don't know why that's doing that. Let me get rid of that. There we go. Just like that. It's gone. I think. Maybe we'll see. Oh, I do that. Boom. Wonder Twin powers activate. All right. So, guys, yeah. TTS is lowered to $10. If you like to do the TTS thing, throw them out there. $10 and up. TTS over $20 could get you a swag bag. I can't absolutely say that you will because, guys, the law. I don't know what the raffle or whatever laws are, and I'm not going to get involved in that. But just saying, TTS over $20 might get a swag bag, or be entered in, or be thrown, name in a hat, business card in a hat to get a swag bag. I don't know, something like that. All right, Devin Anderson, good to see you, sir. Good to see you. So yeah, I did the debate the other night. I had all of these really great arguments, and nobody actually really went down anywhere. We did have the beginning of at the beginning of the show, we did have some guy come on for a couple of minutes, and he was talking business, and of course I was just zoned out for a lot of it, and then he said something that was just so monumentally stupid that I had to get into it, and I actually ran him off. I think that he gave up for the night. He did not want to put up with me, and that's totally fine. All right, we've got John Deadman says cool beans. Big Jake's Ranch says swagger bagger. Okay, got that. Got your new truck, man? That's cool, man. That's cool. Everybody needs a new truck every once in a while. Not me, though. I don't need one. All right. Let's see. So, what are we going to talk about tonight? Well, that's a great question. Well, there's so much. We have all of the stuff in the news lately, the drones, the Chinese guy getting arrested, the people getting arrested on in Boston, flying drones. Already talked about that a little bit. So many of the leadership in Canada are stepping down. That's pretty rad, right? Teriak has made it. He is in the house, boys. He is in the house. How are you, sir?
Not too bad. Read yourself.
I'm good. How are you doing, man? I caught the stream, the tail end of it, where you were like, "Hey, I'm taking a month off. I got some personal stuff going on. No big deal." So,
yeah.
And I'm surprised to see you on tonight. What's up? How you doing?
Yeah, it's just kind of like the kind of holidays coming up and all that kind of made sense. Going through a couple of things, just kind of trying to sort shit out, all that kind of thing. But like that being said, actually, like I have an impromptu thing with Sarah tomorrow night. I think tomorrow night.
Oh yeah,
we're gonna be doing
Thursday.
Yeah, going to be doing No Fault Divorce on that as well. I was also on Easy's stream last night as well. Like that's the fucked up thing is like I say I'm taking a break, but I just can't get away from it. The panel versus keep sucking me in.
I know that. Yeah, I'm actually going to have to take off. So Friday night, I may do. I'm going to probably do like an airplane stream or something tomorrow. I don't know. We'll see. But
Yeah, but I
the
mean, like that's the thing as well. It's like kind of one things that main things I want to do is like on this break is just kind of like work out kind of like different things, different ideas that I
Mhm.
want to play around with the stream and all that. Because like there's just like so much stuff that you can do, like in terms, especially in terms of like the emojis, the whole kind of like brand
Mhm.
thing, your schedule as well. Like that's one of the things I'm looking at too. But it's like even just like the topics, you want to make sure that you're kind of like bringing like proper topics to it as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. What's an interesting thing, I guess, for me, from my point of view, is that I have so much going on right now. It's just crazy. And so, like, I will be out of town Friday, so there will not be a stream Friday night. There's just no possible way. Saturday, I'm not sure I'll make it back in time to do the Saturday night stream, and then I don't stream at all on Sundays unless I go on somebody else's panel and just goof off. Um, Probably do Monday afternoon. I don't normally stream Tuesday. That's Christmas Eve, and then you have Christmas Day. I won't stream Wednesday next week, so I may not stream again until next Friday or Thursday
Because
after Monday.
particularly like around the holidays, all that. Like, that's why I was like, yeah, I might as well just kind of
Yeah,
take the thing off. And I think Kat as well is like doing up her office as well. So I said to her, listen, we'll just kind of reconvene like January because it just makes more sense. Because particularly because it's like you have like Christmas on the 25th, and then there's like the couple days afterwards, and then you're straight into New Year's as well, which is usually
yeah.
just kind of like family time anyway, you know.
Yeah, well, there's two sides of that argument, right? Where you have people who will say that the thing that you need to do is you need to actually you want to be online because so many other people are off, and then on the other side of it, the I mean, does it? Hey, we got raided by Mikey Balls. Mikey Balls, awesome
My
dude.
man.
My man, Mikey Balls. I'll get him up here too if he's got time, he'll jump up. Good to see Mikey Balls' guys raiding and pillaging and raiding. So, but yeah, I think it's an interesting time, right? I think it's very cool to. I think it's I don't know, it's kind of a very cool thing to see and do, right? But
Hmm.
I don't know how to do the holidays, man. I don't. I've got kids. I've got family coming in. I've got to travel. I've got to, we're in the middle of buying a business, and so that's a big deal. It's just been really, it's just really busy. So this will be probably like the last well, Monday afternoon will be like the last real stream. And if I do Monday night debate panel, it'll be
Mm.
that'll be it. And then you have Christmas Eve, Tuesday, Wednesday's Christmas, all of that.
100%. But I'd say like probably the next major thing everyone's looking forward to is the 20th of January because that's going to be wild.
The what's that? Oh, the
20th of
6th?
January.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, first week of January is going to be lit. I can't believe all of the stuff that they're trying to push through. They have all right. So they dropped the rate, right? They dropped the interest rate. I don't know how much you pay attention to American stuff, so stop me if I
Yeah, no, go ahead.
or ask for clarification. So they just dropped the interest rate, right? Going into Jan 6, right? Like it's literally like my wife asked me about it. What did I think about it? I'm like, well, I think it's going to help overall, right? But at the end of the day, does it really help us? Because the at the end of the day, does it really help us? Because all they're doing is trying to sabotage Trump before he gets into office.
Yeah.
All of this stuff, the drones, again, the China. Started out before I saw you come in. The Chinese guy that got arrested outside the air base. The two guys arrested in Boston for flying drones at the end of a runway. Now, some of that is just people being stupid. Some of it is, I kind of wonder how much of that is like they're just building up to this like complete out of control mess that they're going to dump onto Trump. What do you think, man? What do you think about that?
Well, I think there's like a lot of it is very suspicious. But like you're kind of saying there, it's like we have drone technology, so like any of these like lights you see in the sky can be easily just be explained with the drones.
Mhm.
And like like I often kind of question, it's like is that not just military tech? Do you know what I mean? Do you really not think that the American military has like very sophisticated technology and all that? To the point you're kind of touched on as well, where it's like, is this not just like the Democrats trying to like run a mess before they leave office as well? And I think there's a lot of warrant to that,
Yeah.
particularly around the likes like Biden doing all the shit now, like just basically stirring up like the Russia and all this kind of shit as well. Um, so it is kind of one of those things where it's like you gotta you gotta kind of like check yourself and just kind of like don't let the emotions or the like all this kind of like just basically kind of push it out as noise. Do you know what I mean? Just like stay focused. Like Trump is he won the election. There ain't you can do all your recount you want, Democrats. He won it this time, fair and square. You know what I mean? He's
Yeah.
getting into office, and then from there it'll be like day one, like 50 executive orders. Let's get this rolling. You know what I mean?
That's all very good. What do you think about what's going on in Canada?
Well, Canada's very interesting because like Trudeau's suppose he's stepping down, or there's a lot of calls for him to step down as well,
Yeah.
which would be very interesting to see. Is Polyev is he the final solution or the way forward? All that stuff. I think it's.
I don't know.
There's like
I don't
even like when we kind of like not to get too far down in Ireland politics, I think we're like like 4 years behind yous in terms of the way things are going over here. Like we just had our elections, and it seems as though the main parties are going to stay in power, depending on the talks and all that. But a lot of like the far left candidates didn't get in, which is kind of like a good thing. But there wasn't a lot, like with the national surge, there wasn't a lot of them that got in either. So it's kind of one of those things where I think Ireland is going to play the sit in the middle game, fence sitting, what we usually do. But with Canada, it just seemed that like they are going to like make that push to go more conservative rather than this kind of far left nonsense that they've been doing. But we'll have to kind of wait and see, I guess, with Canada.
Yeah, I find it really interesting, the timing. So I got a thought, and I know you love conspiracy theories. And there are a couple of guys out in the chat that I'd love to get up here for conspiracy theory guys, but follow along with me a minute. So the one thing that they've really tried, and by they I mean leftists, one of the things that leftists have really tried and really kind of managed to do is paint Trump as a miscreant, devil, the shyster, right? They were never counting on him even running for re-election, and now not only did he run, he won. Now he's coming back in the office, and he's already and just by who he picked to run the various justice and legal departments, just by his picks, they know without a doubt he's coming for him. Right? Like he is now in control, and he knows better now than he did before who he can trust, why, how much he has to step in, all of the things that he didn't know the first time. So let's say that you are Justin Trudeau and you have been doing a bunch of illegal shit with Biden crime family, right? Payoffs, all kinds of, tax money that disappears, a couple of estates in Virginia or something. What do you think would happen when Trump gets in and starts digging?
I'll be fucking sweating. Like, let's be real.
Like no shit, right? Like the minute he like, oh shit, he's gonna win. Like that was, and that's when all of this. If you notice, it's almost a clear delineation when all of this nonsense started happening, right? Like all of a sudden, Hunter gets pardoned, right? That's very convenient, right? Because now They can't go after him. They have no leverage to go after him for anything on the laptop. Why? Why would they want to do that? Why not? Because, well, I can tell you why. Because they don't have leverage to say, hey, we'll put you in jail. We'll put you under the jail for treason based on what we've got on your laptop if you don't testify against all of these people.
Well, like that's the thing. Think of like the typical cop. Like you don't want to get the guy that's stealing on the corner. You want to get the ringleader. Do you know what I mean? And I think a lot of this is like preemptive, and you've seen it even with the likes of like Destiny and the whole crew on Piers Morgan. They're like basically trying to justify this, and it's like clearly he has to do this because Trump's coming after them. But then the logical question is like, well, why else would he do it? If he's innocent? They have nothing on him, right? It's like no, they have to make sure they pardon him just in case they come after him, like and try to weaponize the justice system. It's this whole kind of like game.
Well, that's exactly what. Yeah, no, that's not a conspiracy theory. That's what's going to happen if Trump is if Biden had not pardoned Hunter, and I don't believe Biden did for a minute. I believe it was his staff. But if that had not happened, the first thing that would have happened when Trump was back in office was a thorough investigation of that laptop. A lot of investigative hours put into corroborating all of the things that are on it, and I don't think they would have charged Hunter Biden, but they would have held those charges over his head. They said, "Look, we've got the laptop, we got everything we need. I'm going to put you underneath the jail. Like they're literally going to bury you underneath the jail if you don't testify against all of these other people."
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, what really scares all those guys is he'd flip. I promise you, that dude literally 1,000% will snitch. 100%.
Oh, true.
So they knew that, and that's why they did that. And now they have other problems, right? Now they've got to clean up Trudeau and Trudeau's staff, right? Because Canada has, we are Canada's largest trading partner. The bulk of their economy is based around the U.S. You think there's no backroom deals? Really? I mean, seriously. And some backroom. Look, I'm not opposed to good backroom deals, right?
But I mean, like think about it though, Grid. Like in terms of like the even just like just the single out of Destiny, it's like there's a reason why that shit got leaked. Like that was clearly getting held over his head. Because like some of the arguments I was making is like it wasn't even typical Destiny arguments. Like there would be like some sort of logic they'd be able to hold on to, but the arguments that they were trying to make and what he's trying to make at the moment, it's this whole kind of thing of like, oh, like like pardons are a good thing if you're Biden. Do you know what I mean? But if it's Trump, then oh no, like it definitely not like pardons, all this kind of shit. So it's like these arguments aren't even making sense, and that's when you know they're at their wits' end, where it's like there's like no logic to it whatsoever. But you're seeing this backlash against like not only like the stuff in America, but even across like in Britain now. Like you're starting to see a lot of these detransitioners are starting to sue because of medical malpractice.
Well, that's a whole other. I mean, I was just going to stick to like state. Let's just stick to state and war right now. We'll come back to that. I like that. I like where your head's at though. I like what you're saying. But let's just talk. Yeah, let's just talk about the socioeconomic environment right now. So Trump's in. All the deals are off the table. Now they've got to. I personally think. I hate saying this out loud because somebody's going to call me like a serious conspiracy theory, and I'll probably be on a list. But I would bet against Zelensky making it another year above ground.
Oh no, that'd be a sound bet in my opinion.
I just if somebody wanted to wager that within 6 months Zelensky's crow food, I don't know. I don't know if 6 months, but within a year for sure, because
like
he's so crooked. He's absolutely crooked, and Trump's going to nail him to the wall.
Because there's a reason why Trump was able to say like one phone call and that war be ended. Like all Trump has to do is get on the phone and set up a deal with Putin and saying that Ukraine and Georgia will never join NATO, and have that in writing as a solid like deal, and then the war basically ends overnight. There'll still be particulars in terms of the actual land swaps that will happen and all that kind of stuff, but that war will basically be over within the first week. Like troops will be pulled, all that kind of shit.
Yeah, so that's true. Let me read Mr. Mister saying I've got a lot of chats coming in that we should respond to. Within 3 months, Ukraine-Russia war will be over. Yeah, because Zelensky won't be in power anymore. They are setting a trap to make Trump go to war with Iran. I think they're really trying hard. Absolutely, they are. Trump said, "Release our hostages." I'm assuming that means now Hamas. You have till Jan 20th or else. I mean, yeah, I agree with that. I feel like that there's a lot to it though, right? Like the UN's already look, the UN is already crying. You've got Putin's ready to just make a deal. Putin wants to make a deal. He doesn't care. The biggest thing he always wanted was, well, obviously he wants the reunification of the USSR, and I think he realized that's not going to happen. But the biggest thing is he really needed that deep water, all season port, and as long as they don't obstruct access to it, then I think it would have been fine. Unfortunately, Zelensky wasn't that smart, and he was goaded into this, and now he's going to lose a good chunk of land. I don't know how many square miles they've lost, but I'm sure it's a bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ukraine is now smaller. Yeah, I believe that's true, Ghost. I believe he has invited Zelensky to his inauguration. Tiki Tack comes in and it says, if I'm reading correctly, if the executive branch can prove a pardon was issued to obstruct justice, the pardon can be voided. See, here the problem with that is that I don't know that you could prove it because first of all, you can't get Biden into a courtroom. He's not fit for court, right? And nobody else is going to admit they wrote that thing. So how do you make that happen, right? Like, I don't know. I agree with you. I don't know that we can make that work. I would love to. I would love to say that. So if we do it, what do you think about that, Teriak? What do you think about how the Russia-Ukraine war is going to go? Where do you think that's going to go?
So yeah, like I said, it pretty much all Trump has to do is get on the phone and say Ukraine and NATO will never join NATO. Ukraine and Georgia will never join NATO. Which again, like it'll kind of put a pause on the whole thing. And like I said, within they're saying 3 months, like it can very easily be resolved, but then there is going to be like the nasty taste in the mouth or the aftermath where people realize that 1 million Ukrainians died for nothing. Do you know what I mean? Like it was a completely pointless war, but it was provoked by America by trying to get Ukraine to join NATO. And there's a reason why Putin sent a intercontinental ballistic missile with no nukes attached, because it was basically a warning to say, if you keep this shit up, it will end. Like intercontinental ballistic missile is if you strap a nuke to that like America can get hit by that. Do you know what I mean? So it's like there's a lot of this kind of.
Here's the thing though. I don't think Putin cares anymore if Ukraine joins NATO. I think that was one of his reasonings, sure, but I think you gotta go back to when all of this started to begin with, and that was it started with the Crimean War, right, in Obama's years, where Crimea basically said you can't use the Deepwater port, and there's something and they were blocking access to something. I forget what it was. I'm actually drawing a blank now that I've started down this road, but that war didn't last very long because Crimea basically said, yeah, okay, you can do it, Russia, whatever. It's fine. We're not going to die on this hill of not letting you have access to whatever it is that they wanted. But Ukraine said, no, we own this, right? It is historically our land or our holdings. And Russia said, no, this is our port. We own this. We owned all of you before the break, and now this is we own this. And that's when Trump stepped in the first time. Is he kind of negotiated that deal between Zelensky and Putin the first time, to where, because remember, they were going to go to war in Trump's administration, but he put a damper on it, because he basically said, look, just don't do the things that you say you're going to do. And my recollection, it's now been like 6 years, but my recollection is that Ukraine wanted to up the fees, or they wanted to impose fees in general on allowing the Russians to use the port that Russia had historically just used, right? And Ukraine was blocking access, or threatening to block access. And as soon as Trump left office, Zelensky did block access, and that was the end of it, right? I mean, look, we can talk about how the demilitarization and the shedding of the nukes and all of that Ukraine had, and how they didn't actually. So they were going to become a member of NATO, but they had to comply with their nuclear disarmament. They didn't really do that in the way and time frame that they said they would. And part of that was Russia's fault, but that's irrelevant, really. And I do think that the idea that the push for the Ukraine to be in NATO as the basis for the war with Russia is I don't really believe that that's the basis of it. I think that's what everybody wants it to be about, because then that it allowed Biden to push for, it allowed the leftists, I shouldn't say Biden, it allowed the leftists to push for the Ukraine to be part of NATO, and they were doing their money laundering and all of the other things, right? Like literally all of the things. And
but if let me let me try to ask it this way: if, for example, let's say Mexico or Canada went into an alliance with Russia, so that Russia would have military operations either in Canada or Mexico, like, how do you think America would react to that? Yeah, the Cuban Missile Crisis, for example. Like we have kind of evidence like Mexico or Canada would literally become the 51st state of America if that ever happened. Do you know what I mean? So it's like that's basically how it kind of developed. And that's what I'm trying to say. It's like Ukraine is kind of like that strategic zone that they can kind of lead into to rush from that, and that's the whole kind of like Russia versus America, kind of like the deepest fears is like them having military.
I don't know that. I don't think Putin is that. I don't know that he cares that much about that. I mean, I'm sure he does care about it. I just don't. I don't know that he cares. I think he cared far more about the. I think he cares. Sorry, I'm getting people talking to me. I think he cares far more about the loss of his deep water port, which would have cost him tons and tons of money, and made life very difficult for him or for his people. I think he cares far more about that, because he is a nationalist.
Yeah, but like that's the thing as well. It's like the CIA and stuff like that trying to do, but it's CIA having their hand in the cookie jar trying to play.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, come on, Zelensky was installed in a CIA coup. Let's just be honest with that. That's and that stems from Obama and Biden's first administration. Tim Hale has a great point here. Tim, if you would like to come up tonight and chat, that would be great. Russia will make up any reason to hold on to its grasp on former Soviet states. That is true. Doesn't mean Ukraine or the U.S. don't want to encroach on Russia's sphere of influence, but politics is politics. Yeah, true, and I would go with that, but I think I think Putin's a nationalist, and I think when he was looking around and he's seeing the damage that the Ukraine was doing to his country, because again, this is the only deep water port. That means that the that in the wintertime, all heating oil, all food, any kind of machinery, all of it, if it doesn't fly in, it has to come in through that port. Do you understand what a stranglehold that is on a nation's economy?
Mm-hmm.
And that I think was the main focus. And I think Zelensky picked that fight on purpose. I personally think Zelensky is the one that was more concerned about looking like he was going to sign with NATO, and I don't know that he ever had any intention to. I don't think that the Ukrainian people probably want to. I don't think the Ukrainian government wants that kind of oversight. I don't think they want to have the idea, let me rephrase, the idea that there could be NATO troops stationed in Ukraine is something I don't think most Ukrainians want. But Zelensky is a puppet, so who knows? Who knows what the truth is there? Because all I do know is that if I were that would literally be like, put this in perspective. It would literally be like if France decided to turn on, shut down the English Channel and have a blockade of ships and airplanes to keep England from getting any goods. And you guys already went to war over that a couple of times. So
yeah, but it's like it's basically like and this is why Trump getting office is such a big thing, especially.
Yeah, go ahead. You won't be able to hear it because it's on through YouTube, but I mean it plays.
Mr. Boulay and the Department of Numismatics donated $10 super chat. My hero of the day, Elon. With one X post he stopped that omnibus bill. However, it's sad that it took a billionaire's social media post to stop that overspending.
That was awesome. I still got to I still don't know why it the first time it plays it always has the echo. Awesome. Thank you, Mr. Boulay, for that TTS. Appreciate all the donations. I appreciate Mr. Boulay being such a great member of the stream for this past year. And we'll talk about that more. Russia's motivated by the ideology of Eurasianism. That's true. I don't agree with Alexander Dugin's philosophy, but I think Americans should familiarize themselves with it. Yes, I agree. But again, who knows, man? It's only echoing on my end. Okay, that's cool. Thank you, Anson Knowles, for letting me know that. But I mean, there's I don't know. So, but Trump's going to come in and he's going to basically put everybody on notice, and that'll be the end of that, right?
Well, that's the thing. You have to divorce this, this whole kind of deep state, kind of like Secret Service, kind of not Secret Service, but the likes of the CIA and all stuff, having these strangleholds on global politics. Because Putin had that famous saying where it was a new president comes in, gets elected in America, we have our talk, and it doesn't really matter what they say, because after they finish up, then the suits roll in, and then we actually talk. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which basically is him kind of saying this whole thing of listen, your president's not actually your president. It's basically the Secret Service that are doing these deals and trying to I forget what the word is, but this whole kind of Americanism across the planet and all this stuff. And we're saying there with the coups and all that, was the Middle East is a shit show because of all this. But
sure.
And just to kind of mention that as well, I think Trump won't get baited into a war with Iran. And for anyone who doesn't realize, Iran's basically there's a reason why they're aligned with Russia and all that. But that's where all these kind of militias and Muslim groups, Muslim brotherhoods and all this stuff like Hamas and Hezbollah and all this stuff. It's like it basically all stems from the likes of Iran. So that's why Israel's been like going after all these other countries, because it's basically leading towards Iran. But the thing about Iran is that like the youth of Iran, they don't want Islam. They don't want like the I forget the name of the government, but like the government, it's like the Iranian Republic of Islam or some Islamic Republic of Iran. Sorry, like that like that will naturally come to its head without America having to put troops on the ground. If America puts troops on the ground, then it's basically like flashbacks to Iraq all over again. So I think Trump will kind of like be able to see to see that out, and basically just kind of like let Israel do its thing. But the thing is that it's like there is going to be a lot of backlash against it, where it's like the whole kind of warmongering and all that kind of shit. But you can't like you can't live beside your neighbor if your neighbor is constantly trying to rob your house. Do you know what I mean? And like that's basically the situation that Israel's in. So there is going to be like a lot of negative backlash against that. Like I think it's like the Groypers or whatever are going to go insane over that. But essentially, like I said, you have to be able to block that shit out, like the white noise that it is. Like these two conflicts are coming to its head. Like Israel's doing its thing, and then with the Ukraine stuff, all Trump has to do is just like pop on the phone to Moscow and say, yeah, I'll put in writing that Ukraine and Georgia will never join the NATO, and that 1 inch further thing will actually be in writing, and that will hopefully be able to bring the peace there. But like I said, we'll have to kind of wait and see, because we've already seen, was it 2 attempts already against Trump? Like that's the main thing that I'd be betting on, is just make sure that man is protected at all costs until he's actually sworn in, and then we get the executive orders out, and then even with the likes of Patel now, like actually kind of revealing all these documents, what actually happened to JFK, because like funny enough, JFK was the one who was saying we need to start telling the people what's actually going on. We just start telling them like all the truth that's going on, and then pew pew, and then JFK is no more kind of thing. That's going, like I said, like that came to a head. We seen what happened when that went down, but it seems as though there's so, like, Trump has basically built like the Avengers or the Justice League or whatever to basically counteract this. That even if you take Trump out, there's still going to be the likes of Tulsi Gabbard that's going to be head of the I forget the name of it, but the head of the services and all that. And even like you have RFK in there now as well. Like there's so many people there.
I really like RFK being where he's at.
Yeah, 100%, because he has the foot in both things, both on the deep state, but then also for the health thing, which is another behemoth that they need to deal with as well. Where, and I was kind of speaking about this on Easy's channel yesterday, where the medical industry is literally like a demon at this stage. It's like you go into the doctor, and he already has the prescription pad out, and he's just waiting to try and sign you up to some sort of medication. Do you know what I mean? And it's like this disgusting thing where it's like we're eating food that's making us sick, and then the medical industry is just like, it's almost like they're in tandem. It's like a bicycle. They get you sick, and then they just keep you sick essentially.
Yeah. A couple of things. First, Tim Hale, stop sniping from chat. Get a link. Come on up. Let's have a conversation. I like everything you've had to say. John Burt. So a lot of people think, because the press keeps pushing the agenda, that for whatever reason, the Russian Accords or whatever, the Ukrainian Accords, whatever it was called, where and that's the disarmament, the nuclear disarmament thing I was talking about earlier. So back in the day, before any of this happened, Russia and Ukraine agreed to disarm X amount. Ukraine agreed to give up all of theirs in exchange for and not go into NATO in exchange for the U.S. providing them with some measure of security if there was a war, if they were invaded or whatever. And we agreed to those terms. However, the Ukraine didn't live up to their end of the deal. And that's the problem. If they had lived up to their end of the deal, I think that it would have been fine. However, this is why this is why I think that all of and nobody wants to come out and say it, but that's why we only really give lip service to sending troops and things like that over there, because once they did, if Biden was to actually send actual troops over there and provide for their security, as the documents claim that we will, someone would call into question those accords, and then once they're called into question, all of the nonsense comes out, and then everybody has a bad day, or at least the current administration has a bad day. So, and there were things about the Ukrainian, the nuclear drawdown. They didn't draw down as much as they said they would. Some went missing. They made movies about that back in the 80s and early 90s. At the end of the day, I don't know. I think people should uphold their end of the deal. Roman King says it doesn't matter if I'm assuming he means they don't live up to their end of the deal. It's stopping Russian encroachment towards reclaiming former Soviet state its power, and I want the U.S. with power, not Russia. Yeah. So, yeah, Russia. Yeah, that's true. 13. He did missing Ukrainian nukes. So here's the thing: we're not the world police. If the Ukraine if Ukraine ends up being part of Russia again, I don't really care. Except Russia's not going to do it like they did before, where it was the USSR. It's going to be Russia. They're conquering this, and it will be part of Russia, and it will not be. They will not. I think Putin is trying to make it so they can't split again. But Russia's not the. Russia's not the threat it once was, and I don't live under that. When I was a youngster, I lived under that fear, but I don't anymore. I'm there. The greater threat is from within, to be honest. Sorry,
True.
Carrie, I just kept rolling on there.
No, but you bring up a very good point there. It's like there was that famous saying where it's like America is, because it's like surrounded by water. It's like it's almost impossible for America to actually get taken over. The only threat that actually comes is from within. And you've seen this with the Democrats, and you see it with all their propagandists, all the stuff now, where it's like, it's almost like this kind of like ideology where it's like you have to feel bad for your history. Like to turn down statues, like this whole kind of thing of like it's a bad thing. You have to feel shame for your history, all the stuff. Like this is all like psyops. This is all like propaganda to destabilize the nation. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's a thing, right? So, and that's one of the reasons why I think people really have to look into this stuff and really, really kind of chew on it, gnaw it down right to the bone. Because if you were told that all Ukraine wants is to join the UN, and big bad Russia just won't let them do it because it wants to reestablish its kingdom. Why? First of all, why get mad about that? Who cares? That's an entirely different country's business, right? It's literally like if somebody said, we should give up Alaska, and the entire world said, yeah, you guys should do that, and we'd be like, fuck you. It's our country.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck off and die. So you dang old Canadians. But former power, I don't know where I don't. I lived under that. I saw it crumble. I saw the reality of it. But yeah, YouTube is not your friend, Roman King. Sorry, buddy. You're welcome to jump up on the panel for a few minutes and talk about it. Yeah, we did. We bought Alaska fair and square. Fair deal for everybody. Honestly, YouTube doesn't care. So at the end of the day, it's just like I don't believe we need to be in the sandbox. Like if they want to kill each other, just let them kill each other. Right? How hard is it?
Well, like that's the interesting dynamic, whereas people want to go full isolationist, but the problem with that is
Oh, I am.
is
I'm
that
100% an isolationist, man.
but the problem you have is it's like if you give up the global power, then the void will just be filled by either China or Russia. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no,
And then
I get that. You know, look, I'm not stupid, but the thing is that China and Russia can't fill the void, and see that's the bullshit that annoys me. Give up the power. We do not have to go and fight on every piece of dirt in the world just to prove that we swing the biggest dick in the world. We don't. Right? Like why? Like we just don't. We don't have to do that. But in this country, it's a massive business, massive, and people just the Roman King. I'll disagree with you on that one, but I'll get to that. I'll come back to that. You need to come. You can come up and have a discussion. This is what Wednesday night is for. I mean, look. We don't have to. That's right. We got dragged into World War II, and we were suckered into that as well. We keep getting suckered into these wars. I'm literally sick of fighting everyone else's fucking war. I just don't want to do it anymore. Like I don't. Like I honestly don't care about anybody else's war. I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to know about it. I don't see I see no benefit to me personally or my family or my state. All I see is billions and billions of my tax dollars that could be spent much, much better here at home going over to fight wars on countries that I don't give a shit about.
The example I point to though is England. Like England was the global power before America.
Sure.
But I mean, like look at London now. It's like over 50% of the people living in London don't identify as British. Do you know what I mean? They have huge problems.
But you guys were invaded low and slow. You were barbecued. They stuck you in the smoker for a couple of decades and did that.
But now it's crazy now, especially with like Europe, like Angela Merkel back in the day.
You bring up a great point, Teriak. The reason that you guys lost so much power in the world is because you were spread so thin. You were fighting on literally every continent. You even invented a couple of continents so you could go fight on.
Well, like first, I want to clarify. I'm not English, okay? I'm Irish. It's a different country, okay? United Kingdom, like Ireland, the Republic of Ireland is not part of the UK, okay, right? So that's the first clarification. But in terms of the whole shit that's going on now, it's like my main gripe is the fact that it's the secret services, it's the CIA's, the MI6, in terms of the English shit that are causing all this shit and this resentment towards the likes of America and all this kind of shit, is because they're coming at this from the angle of like we need to destabilize these governments to put in our puppet figure and then make sure that the policies in these lands are done in a way that advantages us. But like to what you're saying there, it's like all it does is it just causes war and conflict, and then you're paying off billions to just try and stabilize these areas.
All right, so this is what happened with England. I won't pick on you anymore, Teriak. So what happened with England, right? So they're fighting on every continent. They have soldiers, they have young men going off and dying. They have because they have a semi-monarchy and they actually conquered lands, right? They claimed it for England. And so they were sending people back to England as subjects of the crown. And those people were not friendly. And they've lived there for 60, 70, 100 years. And they gradually have people like to think that they assimilate, but a lot of them don't. They still hold the values. They still their children are taught to, hey, we were conquered and we were brought here, right? And in the
Well,
meantime, the English people were dying on faraway lands.
well, like personally, I love shitting on England. There's nothing that makes an Irishman more proud than to shit on England. And like to your point as well, Grid, if it was for England, we wouldn't have fucking Australia. So,
That's true.
you
We
are
don't.
hitting on
You
a
can't
couple
prove
of
you
things,
can't prove-
Nobody has something that doesn't exist.
Yeah. Look, I just think that, look, we've already seen, look, FDR started all this shit back in World War II because he wanted to get involved in World War II. He wasn't happy selling planes to China and planes and ships and guns to England and France and whoever else could afford to buy them. He wasn't happy with that. He wanted to go full bore, prove to the world that America was not just a paper tiger. Prior to World War II, we had a relatively small military. We were not a global force. We didn't want to be a global force. We just wanted to be happy and live in America. And FDR got us into that, and we've never stopped. Never stopped since. We went from World War II to Korea. Hopped from Korea, Vietnam. Couple of side gigs here and there, Bay of Pigs and all that. We just never stops. And there's no reason for most of these for us to be involved in these stupid ass wars. But yet
well, resources. That's why
bullshit. People
like
sell us whatever
France
we
and all
want.
that.
See, that's the kind of nonsense that's just annoying, right? Like, who cares? They're talking, so that was the thing, right? So Ukraine, they were talking about how Ukraine has this, we need to go fight Ukraine because they have this, what was it, Tim? It was cobalt? Not
Resources.
cobalt. It was something.
They got a lot of, there's a lot of rare earth metals and
rare earth metals.
It's also the breadbasket of Europe. So a
Yeah.
lot of agriculture happens there. They're selling land rights and mineral rights to all, to companies all over the place. So it's not insignificant. They're all, but I will say this too. There's always more than one reason for a war.
Yeah. Yeah.
True.
Look, there's always, and generally I find that the main reason is some kind of financial reason. Lithium. Thank you. Yeah, I think it is lithium. It's lithium, and I think some kind of enriched cobalt or some crap like that batteries need, right? And supposedly that's like the only place in the world we can get it, and yet we get it from Africa and China, and we have it here. We actually have lithium here that we can mine, but guess what? You can't mine it here
Because of regulations.
because of all the regulations and where it is, and we don't want to mine it here. Why would we can buy it from these guys? You want to hear something funny? The last lead mine in the United States was shut down during the Obama administration. Do you know what you need to make lead acid batteries?
Lead.
That all cars use. Lead. We have enough of it so that we just recycle most of it, but we can just buy it cheaper somewhere else. And the EPA made it so expensive for the people here to mine and refine lead that we just buy it elsewhere.
We should abolish the EPA. Not because I don't care about the environment, because I'm deadly against the idea of independent agencies. Because you think of most agencies, they're under a department, which means they're under a department head, which means they're. But like the CIA, the EPA, independent agencies usually go off and become their own like miniature countries within the country. I'm not about that.
Yeah, it's just Biden's been pushing for EV, but not unrestricted regulations. Look, this is the thing, guys. Look. All right, so let's, again, this is just my conspiracy theorist hat on. This is just the way I see the world. I try and see all the angles because at some point, somebody is going to, there's always a reason besides I'm mad at that guy. He's a bad guy. I want to kick his ass. If I want to kick somebody's ass, there's got to be a better reason than that. And nationally with wars, it always goes back to money, always, and power, but mostly money.
Follow the
And
money.
it's usually, and it's all political. So, you know, they keep telling us that we're fighting in Afghanistan so the oil keeps flowing, but we buy no oil from Afghanistan.
Yeah, well, I mean, on that point though, then that does mean I do tend to think that geopolitical considerations are probably just as important as the economic ones. So, I mean, when we look at Ukraine, again, I'm not justifying the war in Ukraine. I'm against the neocons and the neoliberals, but I do understand that there is this desire. I mean, why wouldn't, if you could control those resources, that land, that agricultural potential, and keep it out of the hands of your enemies, why wouldn't you? And so, you know, would you rather control it instead of Russia? Or if you had the means of getting cheaper, say resources, like let's say lithium, whatever, and we didn't have to go through our adversaries like the Chinese, I think that's actually a not.
But are we truly adversaries with China?
Well, I guess it depends on who we means. I consider China an adversary. Honestly, I consider Russia an adversary. I consider China an enemy. But that doesn't necessarily, that's not even a moral judgment, though. I think that's an objective analysis of the playing field. China wants to assert its dominance in the region like any power would. China was once China used to be a much more dominant force historically. When you look at the various dynasties in the past, the reach they had.
But not in the world, though.
Honestly, to an extent, yes.
China shut itself off.
That's true. That's true.
Multiple times.
Like Japan, yeah, there was a very big isolations period. But keep in mind also, when you look at like the Silk Road, the Romans had relations with the Chinese. That doesn't mean they were fond of them. But I mean, China was a humongous market always historically.
Yeah, sure. But
so that's soft. That's considered soft power. So I mean,
yeah. So historically, China's never been an aggressor.
I don't know. What do we mean by that? I think the Vietnamese would disagree.
Japan invaded China.
That's
1930, 1931.
Yeah, that was the second Sino-Japanese War. So that's actually the second time the Japanese tried to screw over China. So no, I don't disagree that they've been targets.
So China literally hired Americans to fight the war for them.
Yeah, the Flying Tigers or the Fighting Tiger. Yeah. No. No, absolutely. I'm looking at things a little more holistically and from a larger time scale. Because keep in mind, China was recovering from what they call the century of humiliation, where all the European powers ganged up on them, took advantage of them, and forced concessions from them. But when you look at the grand scheme of things, you know, China as a civilization state is thousands of years old. Now, you could say the modern form of it was created in the 50s with the Chinese communists, and that's fair enough.
Yeah.
But you know,
remember they shut themselves down. They weren't so this is one of the reasons why I just can't see China as a global threat, right? Like it just doesn't. If anything, they just want to be left alone. Like the sentiment I usually see out of China is not that they want to fight you, is just they're literally about to shut down. Like they're it's gonna be the 1970s again, where nobody goes in and nobody goes out, and they just say fuck everybody.
Well, I mean that's fair enough. You know, the Chinese are, you know what's funny, historically it wasn't just with the rise of the communists. China has always had a massive demographic issue where there's just been so many people and so little land that was arable or that could be used for agriculture. They've always been on the precipice of starvation. There are so many famines in China historically. It's actually insane. And there have been so many wars internally because China was such a large, hard to govern area that, like, when you look at the civil wars in China between the different
area for sure.
Yeah, like I'm sure you've heard of the Taiping Rebellion. That's like 10 million people died there because some dude claimed he was the brother of Jesus and he led a revolution, and nobody even talks about that. Like that's just a footnote in Chinese history, which is a footnote.
I don't want to go too far down the China thing, because you get into some weird history. Like people think that the Chinese warred against the Mongols, right? The Mongolians, but actually it was what's his name's dad, Genghis Khan's dad. His dad actually conquered like most of China, like barely even tried, and he conquered most of China. And I don't know. I never say, like, people say that all the time, like, oh, the Chinese are gonna. Well, we used to say that about the Japanese too, even after World War II. You guys probably don't remember this because you're not as old as me, but when I was growing up, like every auto parts store, you would go in and there would be a Japanese socket set or tools or whatever, and literally everybody said it's just Jap crap. Literally said Jap crap. And same thing with the cars, same thing, everything. Now everybody loves Japan. Japan's great, so cool. But again, Japan has historically always been aggressors. I actually am way more concerned about Japan than China. Always in the world and globally, I think that Japan, although Japan is fucking itself over because they're not reproducing at a rate. They don't have enough young men. They have the number of young women to young men in that country is off the chart, and they can't even. I don't know that they could man all the military equipment they have currently.
I think there's a resurgent sort of, I guess you could call it nationalism in Japan, but I think that's more a reflection of American weakness. But I mean, I still think they're safely under our thumb, considering the amount of bases we have over there. I'm sure you know there's more U.S. bases in Japan per capita than people probably. You know, it's like, but yeah, I mean, Japan. Yeah. You know what? Japan was it's the wrong time. You know, like the demographics issue you brought up. It's just like they wouldn't be able to sustain what they were able to do in World War II. And even back then, they couldn't sustain it.
Yeah,
they bit off way more than they could chew. So imagine today if they tried that.
I love talking about that because, you know, I don't know how much you study how Japan was acting and why they were motivated. But you know what they really wanted to do? The entire reason they allied with Hitler is they wanted to conquer Turkey and to get oil. They thought that they could push through China and into through India into the Middle East, and do it all, mostly overland. But they needed Hitler's help. That's, you know, so they were like, okay, we're going to do it this way. And obviously they were trying to use ships and stuff too, but they never made it, right? Because we stopped them in Burma for the most part, and their supply lines got so long. And as you mentioned, they just didn't have the manpower, right? And that's the it's always been their problem, man. And they didn't have oil, they didn't have fuel. Supposedly, somehow, for some reason, they thought that the U.S. was going to cut off the oil supply, or that actually we did. And there's some conflict about this, whether the U.S. cut off the supply of oil to Japan because we needed it for our national reserves and to keep the country running. And of course, we were rationing everything and all of that. Whether we just couldn't produce enough oil for our wartime needs and predicted wartime needs, and couldn't sell it to them, or FDR knowingly shut off the oil supply to incite the war and pick the fight.
I think it could be. Yeah, I mean, I think it could be several things. I mean, no doubt that the oil embargoes were especially, you know, reactionary to Japanese involvement in China and they went after Indonesia. They went after the entire, any colony they could get oil from, they were going after it. So I mean, it was pretty much inevitable that they would come after us. But it's that's the definition of biting off more than you could chew. It's all. I mean, it's kind of. I mean, I'm not going to say the Japanese were admirable. I'm not going to say that, but it's admirable how much tenacity they had. They really miscalculated with Pearl Harbor, but at the end of the day, they kind of knew the risks. It was just a gamble, really. Just didn't pay off.
Yeah. Okay. What wow, we can really go down some rabbit holes, man. I like you guys. You guys are good. Teriak's falling asleep.
I'm still here. I'm still here. I'm
still
just
here?
being polite, listening in.
I like how the way that Tim snipes from chat is like perfect, because he's like he says stuff that's wants me to get him up here and get some stuff going. What do you think? All right, Tim, I got to ask you, man. What do you see the first 60 days of Trump's presidency like?
I mean, I'm certain it'll definitely have differences between his first term, but even ignoring that he had the Democrats and the GOP trying to sabotage him last time, he still got quite a lot done. And it was actually remarkable because a lot of us voted for him for the memes. And but at the end of the day, we still loved the platform. And when he got in there, it was just like boom, 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 like he had a magic wand. And it was just funny because I remember, I'm sure you remember Barack Obama was shitting on Trump, saying, "How are you going to bring jobs back to America? What magic wand do you have?" And then just immediately with his election, this company just starts hiring new people. This company's going to open up a new plant. This company, and it was just like, there was this funny meme where he was like Harry Potter with a wand. It was
awesome.
Yeah, so I think it's probably going to be a repeat of that. I think that initially he's going to have a lot of easy campaign promises he can fulfill with executive orders and stuff, and then we're going to start meeting the resistance from the from the special interests inside both parties. And I think that's when politics is going to get really, really effing dirty. But I think he's going to get a lot done in the first 60 days, I guess.
Do you think that the mass exodus from the Canadian government and the quick pace of the I'm not really sure what you would call it, but the withdrawal of the United States government, do you think that has anything to do with Trump coming into office, or do you think it's just quinky dink?
Well, could you rephrase that for me? You said the Canadian government.
Yeah.
I know they're I know they're capitulating. They're panicking. It looks like Trudeau might resign. All his ministers are resigning, and it looks like they might call a snap election or something like that to replace him because they need a prime minister who has a scrotum. But I thoroughly love it. I hope Canada. I don't say this with malice. I hope Canada collapses and we just annex it. Like that's like the founding fathers wanted Canada
too.
I mean, honestly, here's the deal, man. Like, I have no malice towards Canadians, but historically, I've noticed like the Canadian identity in and of itself is really just based upon not being Americans. Like, we're the good ones. Like, but at the end of the day,
good ones. We literally have the definition of war crime because of the Canadians. They're not the good ones.
But that's the thing. Like, there was just sort of this air among the Canadians because they've always been shielded by us throughout the 20th and 21st centuries. Obviously, there was more contention between the two of us before the World Wars. In the 1800s, there was a lot of conflict economically and politically, but that's a result of the British Empire being at odds with us. But I think that once Trump, it's been. What's the term? It's been surreal watching like this last month, ever since the election when Trump promised those tariffs. They've been panicking, and like it's almost like the veil's been lifted from over the faces of the average person up there, and they're like, "Oh crap, we really rely on the United States for everything." Like, I was actually looking at a funny graph. It showed you the oil. It showed you the fuel that West Canada provides to East Canada, and of course, because of the Canadian Shield, the part where like Ontario is and all that, you can't do actually. Most transit has to go from West Canada into the northern U.S. and then into Eastern Canada. So like, they don't even the stuff they rely on themselves for, they still have to go through the United States. And Canada's not a real country. It is what it is. I consider Canada a rightful American clay. I'm a proud imperialist. But honestly, though, like it's not even because of NAFTA. It's just that because of proximity, Canada really has become totally integrated into the United States economy and infrastructure. It's just there's no reason for it not to be part of the US other than social attitude. And at the end of the day, when Canadians can't afford groceries, it's the same thing as our election. Like people don't care about, Palestine or your LGBT whatever. Motherfuckers can't pay for groceries. They're not voting for Kamala. And I think it's the same thing as Canada. When they realize, oh crap, our government, they're suffering so much under Trudeau. Anyway, like I think we'll be welcomed as liberators.
I like all of that, man. I like all of that. So let's I think that Trudeau and his ministers have been so crooked in the past couple of years that or decade, I guess, that they are very concerned with the fact that Trump is coming into office, for lack of a better word, with a vengeance. And they're afraid of the veil being pulled back. I think they're afraid of the tariffs, but I also think that Trudeau especially is afraid of the scandal that's going to come forth with the back office deals between Biden and Trudeau. And the reason I say that is because, we are Canada's largest trade partner. I think something like 80% of their economy is based on the U.S., trade with the U.S.
Right. That's true.
And they have,
and vice versa. But the problem is we're such a larger market that if they block their goods from us, we would kind of feel it, but not really. It would devastate them if we did the same. That's why it's such a huge deal.
Right. And they currently, I'd have to look it up to see exactly which goods, but a lot of American goods are tariffed on their way through. And I think one of them is lumber. And actually, lumber companies in Canada actually were able to do such good business down in the U.S. that, and I just happen to know this because I know some guys in the building industry who used to buy lumber by like the shipload. And the Canadians could ship the lumber down, but then the U.S. And they would make a profit because we tariffed their our lumber going across the border. They were able to charge a very low price for their lumber coming across ours, and that's actually reversed now. The Canadian countries, or the Canadians, we now have a tariff on lumber. It became so expensive and Trump did that, by the way. You're welcome. When that happened, they actually started to buy land in the southern U.S. to grow lumber trees and harvest them, and they own a lot of mills in the U.S. By the Canadian companies do. They've now gone even further, and they have massive lumber farms in South America where it grows faster, straighter. It's like the absolute best building lumber you can get is grown by Canadians in like Brazil somewhere or wherever. And but it's all because of the tariffs that it changed their entire business model from pushing lumber across our border to buying companies here. So.
Yeah, I think you have something similar with Mexico as well, where this is this is like geography plays a huge part in this too. Northern Mexico, a lot of like companies have moved to Mexico. They're actually doing business there instead of China. But northern Mexico is geographically pretty separated from the rest of Mexico. So not even ignoring the cultural differences, northern Mexico is actually very integrated into the United States market, economically integrated. So I wouldn't be surprised if we bring democracy to northern Mexico in the future as well. President Polk demands it from his grave. But I mean, yeah, these are the sorts of things like people like really need to pay attention to. The fact is, like, these again, I don't want a European Union style sort of relationship in North America. I just want the United States to get bigger because we are a common market in and of ourselves. The Constitution even calls this a common market. Canada, Canada, look, they even consume the same media as us. Actually, I think sometimes their news is a little more impartial. I think that the United States and Canada would both benefit from further integration. I actually think they'd get more representation in the U.S. government if their provinces became states. Though I would break them up a little because a lot of them, especially in the West, are way too big. But it's there's so much. Like I've been frothing at the mouth over annexing Canada since I was a kid. I'm a huge nerd. There was this website I used to go to. It was called
you had some weird things as a child, sir.
I disavow. But it's like when you think about the woods too, like there's so much forest in Canada as well as resources. Forget Ukraine. The amount of minerals and like forestry and stuff like that we could actually get out of Canada is actually pretty astounding. And then when you consider that we could eliminate the trade barriers if we unified, we'd have a massive market. We would greatly benefit because, as I just said, we're both each other's greatest trading partner. So you get rid of the tariffs and stuff like that entirely. You have one common unified market. Both sides benefit. And I saw a comment in the comment section. And to be fair, like I do agree. Canadians would be like probably the biggest issue Canadians would have with becoming Americans isn't gun control. It's not cowboy culture. It's actually the healthcare thing. But here's the thing, guys. Like, there's nothing in the Constitution that says states can't have their own healthcare systems. It's saying like the whole free healthcare thing has never been a good reason to me for why Canada can't become part of the U.S. Like there's no reason they can't do like co-ops and stuff like that or work together. I think remember Mitt Romney was running for president for the GOP and he was getting hit from all sides like, you're a socialist. Massachusetts had socialist healthcare. It's just like, well, whether that was true or not, it's just like he made the argument that we had a system in Massachusetts that worked for us. It doesn't have to be national. Well, that's true. There's no reason the Canadian states that would form from the provinces couldn't have their own healthcare systems. It's all like it's all just fear mongering because Canadians have become complacent. They want mediocrity, or they did before they realized how much they were starving. I think that I think it'll all work itself out. Canada is rightful American clay.
Could be. I don't know, man. I think that I don't know. It's very strange.
At the very least, get Alberta and Western Canada. They got the oil there,
and the gold.
And we could create a land bridge from Alaska to the lower 48. It's time.
Don't forget the gold.
Exactly, that too. Yeah, the gold, silver. Canada is a huge producer for not just minerals or whatever, but especially the valuable metals. So yeah, because I don't think people realize like Canada, Australia, there are a lot of countries that outperform us in in terms of like producing gold and silver and all that shit. So got to get those markets, man. Got to catch them all.
Okay. All right.
Because like this is one of the things that Milton Friedman would talk about. Like in terms of like when you talk about like all these different ideologies across the world and all this stuff, capitalism is the unifying force. Because when you break it down to capital, no one gives a fuck like what ideology the person who makes your pencil is. You just give a fuck that's the cheapest pencil you can buy or the most expensive pencil you can buy if you're looking for that kind of quality. So when when you actually kind of look at like the global affairs and all this stuff, this is the reason why I think they're trying to battle so hard against capitalism is because once like a country, let's say, for example, like with Canada, they make so much money with all these good deals and all this stuff. Eventually, you'll have someone like Trudeau who'll come in and start saying, well, we want certain ideologies in place. We want this in place and all this. But then all it takes is someone like Trump, a businessman, to come in and say, well, we're not going to give you these good deals anymore. And then all of a sudden, the ideologies start to change. People don't like Trudeau anymore. Trudeau is apparently supposed to be stepping down now, all this kind of stuff. So it's very important that, like I said, with kind of going back to the original question of like Trump coming in office, how's that going to look? That you basically kind of like you have to kind of pay attention to these deals. What like in the whole kind of tariffs thing, which is another thing that the lefties fucking flipped up about. You can't tariff China, all the stuff, but if you have American companies that are trying to exploit the China working market because it's basically like slave trade in terms of that like there's something clearly wrong that you can ship all these raw minerals or materials over to a different country, exploit the workforce there, and then ship them back, and for it to still be cheaper than something that's like grown, made in the domestic, and like it's a cheaper product. That makes no fucking sense. So this is why capitalism will win out towards the end, because it basically gets rid of all these twisted ideologies essentially.
Word. Yeah.
Yeah.
The market.
No, that's good, man. That's
I
good.
mean, the market usually doesn't lie. Now, I don't believe we should worship the market. I don't worship the free market. I think that all institutions and systems should serve people, not the other way around. But I mean, that's pretty spot on. You know, the invisible hand of the market demands we take Canada. Okay, he didn't actually say that, but that's what I say.
Okay.
Someone said Alberta is the Texas of Canada. I mean, I think that's the consensus.
But I guess like probably an interesting question to ask Grid would be like
Yeah, man.
maybe not so much like what you think will happen, but like what would you want to happen, or like what, like let's say you're president, like what would be your kind of main goals?
So if I were president, if I were in Trump's position, the first thing I'd do is I would use the marshals and the rest of the executive branch, all of the law enforcement agencies he has at his disposal to investigate corruption. I would push the. As a matter of fact, I would make corruption in our government the clear focus for the next 4 years. The second thing I would do is I would secure our elections. I mean, we've got to have voter ID. We have to have single day voting. We have to have, there's a lot of different things that we have to have. I'm not really sure what he can do about it. I've heard all of the, I've heard all of the discussions around, you know, you could, where, you know, you could have the executive orders used, whatever. I don't know that he can. I do think that he could probably leverage something to get Congress to see it his way, I guess you would say. But I don't know, man. But you gotta have voter reform, or election reform. That absolutely has to happen at the federal level. Now, I'm not state level, you know, whatever, kind of out of his purview, but so voter ID laws, single day voting, no mail-in ballots, that kind of thing. I think all of that, you know, you have to have, yeah, the SAVE Act, I think, would be good, but I don't know, you know, whatever. So those would be kind of high points. I personally would not, I don't want to see any more new wars. I don't want to see any more. I want to get us out of the Middle East. I'd like to see a reduction of, I'd like to see a global reduction of force at all of the various military bases throughout the world. And I mean, you know, like in Germany, I think we've got a base in Turkey still, although maybe not, that one may have been closed. Korea, all of the Okinawa, all of the bases that need to be covered. We cover them, but we don't, I don't know that we need to, I don't actually understand why we have a base in South Korea. Right now, I could see I could see having a ship kind of floating around in that area at all times on rotation, because if the North Koreans did do something, that's fine, but the South Koreans should be dealing with the North Koreans anyway, right? Like, that's not really. I'm kind of tired of being I'm just kind of tired of it.
Well, Grit, I think we got multiple bases in South Korea, and I'd say that the reason here's the deal. Even though it's not a state, South Korea is part of our empire. I mean, that's the politically incorrect way of putting it, but I mean,
You
that's
think so?
absolutely.
Interesting. Okay.
South Korea, I mean, keep in mind, South Korea, Taiwan, Japan, when you look at the geography here again, what do you notice? America dominates the entire Pacific Ocean. And so one of the reasons we want to keep China contained is that we don't want them to be able to breach that first island chain, they call it. So from the top of Japan all the way down to the Philippines, Taiwan, all that, you have a series of islands which all have U.S. military bases and are part of you call it the military industrial complex or whatever,
Sure.
American Empire, blah, blah, blah. But, there's this concept historically called translatio imperii, translation of empire or imperium. And what this basically means is that when one empire conquers another, they become part of that conquered empire, and the conquered empire becomes part of the conqueror. So when we conquered Japan, in a sense, we took their place. And so a lot of you look at it, Taiwan, South Korea, these were dominated by Japan, and we dominate Japan, and now we dominate their colonies. Now that's not true for like the Dutch Indonesia or whatever, but I mean, at the end of the day, we've rapidly expanded, not just across the North American continent, but when you look at the Pacific, we have American Samoa, Guam, the Northern Mariana Islands. Some of these territories have been integrated into our empire, like the Northern Mariana Islands. Even though they're part of the same island chain as Guam, Guam's like the southernmost island in the Marianas. We got Guam from the Spanish after we whooped their ass in, I think, 1898. But the Northern Mariana Islands were part of the Japanese Empire, and they were broken off after World War II, and they were given to us to govern. And decades later, we gave them the option of independence, like Micronesia or the Marshall Islands, and they chose to become a U.S. Commonwealth, like Puerto Rico. So anyway, what I'm trying to say is that it's kind of, we can hate on Roosevelt or whatever, or the warfare state, but the truth is that it's kind of a microcosm of history that empires get bigger and bigger until either they collapse or they just find a way to sustain themselves and go on. And so the American Empire expanded from the 13 colonies on the East Coast to where we currently are now, where we're dominating a bunch of client states. Now, I'm not saying we should annex Japan, but basically, it is what it is. So if you were an isolationist, and I don't agree with that term, I'd say I'm a non-interventionist, but that doesn't necessarily mean you need to withdraw entirely from the world stage. If you agree with the motive, if you agree with the goal of containing China, then having a lot of military personnel in South Korea is beneficial, because that means you can react at any time to an attack on Korea, Japan, Taiwan, whatever. I know not everybody cares about these places. Like, I remember the debates over getting out of Taiwan, because at the end of the day, the reason people even want Taiwan economically is because of the microchips and all that shit. But, if you care about it as a geopolitical thing about containing China, then you definitely want as many bases as you can get in Asia, in the Asia Pacific. Like, the Philippines kicked us out for a while, and now they're like, oh no, America, come back, protect us from China. And we're like, you got it, son. So I think that I'm not against having bases in the Asia Pacific. I think we're a hegemon. I mean, you call it the one world superpower, whatever, but we're a hegemon. And so in order to project our power, I don't have a problem with keeping bases in there, as long as it's reciprocal. I like that Japan is taking on a bigger role. I don't know if they're going to amend their constitution so they can be more, what's the term, aggressive. I'm not advocating that, but I like that they're building up their military forces. I like that they're taking they're taking on a more hardline stance against China. South Korea, like a lot of these countries, I value them because I think as time goes on, they value us more. So especially the Philippines, like the amount of
Okay.
Filipinos who want to be annexed by the U.S. is actually pretty crazy, considering we gave them independence years ago. But
Right.
anyway, I'm rambling. American Empire forever.
I mean, so I see your point, right? I just don't know that I agree with it, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I'll concede. I want good relations with everyone, even our adversaries. Like I don't want a war with China, but if it's
Right.
us or them as number one on the world stage, I choose us. But I also respect that China's a nuclear power. It's got 1 billion people, and it's massive,
Yeah.
And so I think even historically, when the world was really dominated by the European powers, you had what was called the balance of power strategy.
Mhm.
The British, the French, the Prussians or the Germans, the
Sure.
Russians. There's always this balance, and you need to be able to negotiate. Otherwise, you will end up with like World War I, which was catastrophic, and it destroyed the world powers. So I don't want to risk our empire by being
Mhm.
stupid. I think we can negotiate smartly, but I also am not going to, you know, I'm not going to say I want to throw away everything we've built. The founding fathers, are misunderstood, I think. The founding fathers were against stupid wars, and they didn't want entangling alliances that would draw them into, conflicts that would destroy the republic they founded. But at the end of the day, they still wanted to dominate the American hemisphere. And this is very evident in the writings. That's why Jefferson engaged in the Louisiana Purchase, doubled the size of the U.S. overnight. That's why we invaded Canada twice, the Revolution and the War of 1812. These were not pacifists. So I just think I think political pragmatism and geopolitical realism would dictate that it's a good thing to hold on to Korea. And at the end of the day, they're also a good trading partner.
Yeah, but I see the thing is that currently right now, like Korea is so jacked up, and I just
You're not wrong.
I can absolutely see force projection, aircraft carriers, destroyers hanging offshore 24/7, fear of God and all that. I get that. I love that. Keeping bases there for I mean, not no, I mean, obviously there's a good reason for it, but and I mean, look, it's good duty. Everybody I know that's gone to Korea has had a great time. They really like it, but um, at the same time, man, I mean, it's very expensive for us. We're I could actually see if Korea was paying us to be there. Sure, okay, cool. Germany, if I just feel like that we really, although we like to think we got the big end of the stick, we actually kind of got the short end of the stick at the end of World War II, where we basically, as part of the treaty, we are required to have these bases and these stabilizing forces in various countries. Now, South Korea wasn't one of them, but certainly all of one, all throughout Germany, we have all of these bases and forces, and some other places too. And I mean, to be honest with you, I think that currently, and this is just my kind of my belief, right? The if we were to if the U.S. was to go into an isolationist state, pre-World War II state, I think that you would see a lot of. I would say that the world would be unstable for a period of time, and then it would kind of even out and stabilize again. Because most of the wars out there are fueled with anti-American hate, right? And I would just rather hate somebody else for a little while. Um, the and and maybe they get over it, and because I don't know that the rest of the world is really set to, in modern times, set to conquer the world in the same way, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm just I'm an isolationist, man. I believe that I'll trade with everybody. I want to be friends with everybody, but don't come in my yard.
Well, I can actually I can agree with that as well. The thing is, like, again, even though I value our position in the world, I don't want wars either. I think that they can be wasteful, and I think that in order for any empire to survive, there need to be, like you just said, there need to be like cool off periods. You can't, if you're in a wartime economy 24/7, you're doomed to collapse. So yeah, I think that these sorts of things need to be. I think that again, at the end of the day, it's like real politic. It needs to be pragmatic. And the thing is, I think you're right. Actually, what you just said, which is like, I don't think the rest of the world is, you know, prepared for conquering the world. I mean, that's absolutely true. You look, I mean, the Russia's war in Ukraine has actually been disastrous.
It's horrible.
Yeah, a few years
And
ago,
I don't even care about Russia. Everybody's like, "Oh, well, Russia's going to annex Ukraine." I'm like, dude, we was sent 60-year-old stuff, like stuff that my, like my dad would have used had he been in the army,
right?
And they couldn't defend against that,
right?
Like 60-year-old weapon system, a 40-year-old Patriot weapon system shot down their hyperballistic or hypersonic missile,
right?
A 40-year-old Patriot weapon system, dude. Are you kidding me? Like what? Why? I'm worried about these people? Really? No. I'm
someone in the comments.
I'm not worried.
There's a Roman King in the comments. He even made the point too. Like besides China's nuclear arsenal, there's a lot of evidence that like their navy is extremely inadequate.
Oh yeah.
There again. I remember. It's hard to read between the lines of what is just embarrassing information for a foreign country versus what is Western propaganda to make us mock them. But I mean, I'm sure you've seen the reports that like a lot of China's missiles were filled with water instead of fuel. Like there's embarrassing stuff that a lot of our adversaries, it's not very flattering. So again, I don't think we need to be as hardcore like fucking GI Joe 24/7 trying to top.
I got to answer Ukraine. I got to answer Angry Casper. No, we reported it that the Patriot weapon system shot down their hypersonic missile. We absolutely anything you put in the air, we can shoot down. It's just that easy. We didn't even need to use lasers, and it's actually really easy to shoot down hypersonics because they can't turn very well because they're hypersonic. And if you know where they were, you know where they're going to be. Simple math to figure out how to get there before when they get there. And missiles do what missiles do. They collide with things. We actually knew that we did that. And that was last year that we did that. That's not even current information. That's like old. But Russia's, look, anybody who thinks Russia is like cutting edge of anything is like on crack. Like their big badass tank, like they have one left, I think.
Grid, the truth is, like, with the exception, like stuff with like the space race and the Cold War, that definitely kept a lot of people on edge, like especially the arms race with missiles back then. But the truth is that whether it's the Soviet Union or really, I mean, because really the Soviet Union was just a re-imaged Russian empire. Russia has always been backwards, and there's no nice way to say it. Russia has always been, especially by Europe, whether it was around the world or seen by the European powers, Russia was always looked at as a backwards power. They've always been trying to industrialize or modernize or liberalize, and the truth is that they've just been horrible at it. The thing that made Russia imposing was its size and the sheer amount of bodies it could throw into a meat grinder.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So do you know that China has torn down almost all the buildings that the Russians built for them because they were so bad?
That doesn't surprise me. Yeah, I mean, I think China sees Russia as little more than. Yeah,
you can tell which buildings the Russians built.
Yeah, the Chinese just see Russia as a giant gas station. That's all they see it as. If I was China, I would hope Russia would collapse from the war in Ukraine. So that way I could annex, the eastern portion of Russia, because China, I guarantee you, wants Siberia and all the resources that are in there.
That's why China won't let go of Mongolia, There's oil in Mongolia. They can't get, well, they can get to it, but they have problems. But China will never let go of Mongolia. And at some point, Russia and China are going to fight over Mongolia. It's going to, you watch. That or it'll be a very large real estate sale.
To give a bit of pushback though on the Russia thing, apparently like Putin just announced that they have a vaccine for cancer. Now I don't know how true that is, like in terms of like he's actually announcing all the stuff, like, if it actually works. But like that's what I'm saying. Like it's apparently it's an mRNA vaccine thing, which again has me doubting it a lot. But that was one of the announcements that he's come out with, saying that they have a vaccine for cancer. Apparently,
7.62 or 9mm vaccine.
I was literally
going that is a cure.
See, normal cancer, much better, very good, no cancer.
You won't feel a thing, my friend.
Yeah, I'm skeptical about that, but I mean, you never know. Stranger things have happened.
But the another question is had in terms of the kind of the change you want to see with Trump as well. Like is there anything in particular with the economy or any kind of like moves in terms of the financial sector you'd want to see?
It just occurred to me. I'm glad my wife isn't watching the program tonight. It just occurred to me that I've actually dated a Russian girl, a Ukrainian girl, and a Mongolian girl, and now a Chinese girl. I've covered the entire Eastern Bloc.
You've been reading Dugan. We have a Eurasianist here.
Just occurred to me. Because I didn't know that Mongolians, most of them speak Russian. I didn't know that. Because Russia, for a long time, thought they owned it. And then China said, no, you don't.
It is funny. Like when you look at the border squabbles. But before, I mean, everybody knows like the Sino-Jap, the Sino Russian split, where they had that like border conflict when they stopped being buddies in the Cold War. But even before that, historically, the Russian Empire would have border wars with the Chinese, and I think Russia was a piece of contention there. But in terms of the economics, like I hope economically, I hope Trump is really able to push through a lot of the stuff that he had talked about during the campaign. I understand, like in any campaign, you're going to put stuff out there to excite people. Sure. So I mean, obviously, he can't promise the no tax on tips thing. He can't promise abolishing like the what do you call it?
Mr. Bulley and the Department of Numismatics donated $10 super chat. Grid is a spy. I knew it.
I'm not James Bond.
Dun, 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 dun.
But of the two of us, we've kind of both, just saying. He dated Ukrainian, I dated Ukrainian. He dated Russian, I dated Russian. I'm not sure he got a Mongolian, though. I think I might have him there.
I had an Eskimo once in the Army. That was
Did you really?
Funny. Yeah. She was in the Air Force.
I not dated an Eskimo girl.
I didn't say anything about dating, but
oh
my.
All right. Were you
10 out of 10 would recommend.
Would recommend? All right. You heard it here first.
A lot warmer than an igloo, I'll tell you.
So, Angry Casper, do you understand that the words air superiority just simply mean the United States of America? There's nothing that any country, person, individual, or corporate entity in the world can put up that the United States can't knock down within minutes. 5th gen fighter, 6th gen fighter. We've got a clearinghouse on our 5th gen fighter. The F-35 or F-30, whatever they're calling it. We're selling F-35s in bulk right now because we already have the next 6th generation fighter ready to go. And literally, once you own the air, nothing else matters. You can't hide except in caves.
But that ties back to the drone thing, great. Like I think the American military has like next level sophistication in terms of the airs. Like I think that's like basically a show they're kind of putting on.
EMPs. I'm sorry. Keep going.
No, I was saying like basically it's like if you think that like they haven't, because like when's there been like since the World Wars, like that's where we got like jeeps and cars and all that kind of shit from, is because of this military development and all this stuff. Because when you think your life's on the line, you're going to work a lot harder, kind of thing. So it's like this whole kind of aspect of like the technology that the military has. Like I genuinely think that they could even like do the whole kind of like fool the world into thinking that they actually are aliens coming down because this technology is that sophisticated.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think like I'm in Jersey, so like all these stupid fucking drones flying around. I've worked on two of the biggest military bases here, Fort Dix, which is actually Joint Base McGuire Dix Lakehurst. It's Army, Navy, and Air Force. And I also, before J6, I was a contractor on Earl, which is a huge like forested naval weapons station there. And I think there's plenty of places they could be hiding drones, so they could make it, so they could be. I don't know what the hell is the drone thing is going on here in Jersey. But I'm damn well sure that the government knows what it is, and they're just not telling us. But there's been spottings over the bases where I worked at. So I'm like, really, the Air Force that controls McGuire, they don't know what these drones are, So I think I don't know. I think a lot of these drones, I mean, to the point that was just made, like historically, I think most UFO sightings are actually just cover. I think they're cover for experimental technology at a lot of air bases. It's like when you look at like the what was it, like Roswell or whatever, like what's a few miles from where that crash happened. Anyway, I think that they do. I think they put out a lot of bullshit disinfo out to cover up what they're doing, which is smart. Don't get me wrong, it's smart.
Yeah. I mean, I've always done it. What's new?
Right.
So we have MB4D, Mr. B4D, which I'm sure is actually supposed to be Mr. Bad. Talks about EMP. EMP is mostly theoretical. And I've actually tried to do some minor EMP experiments, and I have not been able to do what it says it does. It does you can knock things off offline, but actually like sending the world back to the Stone Age is, I think that would be like really interesting to try and attempt. I'm not saying we can't do it. I'm just saying, I mean, I think they pretty much even quit hardening like vehicles against EMP. That's how the military is no longer concerned with it. So that means, who knows?
But that's what I'm saying in terms of like they even had like anti crowd or crowd control devices. I think this was like back like 20 years ago. There's a video where they're doing a show on where it's like they basically had like this.
Was it the microwave gun? Was it like
basically the microwave gun? They basically like do a beam, whatever, and you literally feel like you need to vomit. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome. And we don't even use it anymore. It's like, whatever.
Which makes you think like what devices do they actually have if they're like, oh, we won't even bother with this technology, we already have this thing. And then there was another one, I fucking forget the name of it. It's basically like they can like charge a laser. It's basically get a capacitor and they just like drill it down in one spot and they can basically like blow it up. And it's like the reason why this is like so good is that it's like you don't need ammo. It's just energy, just converting energy into damage essentially.
So glad I brought the popcorn tonight. So yes. Viking Paradigm says EMPs like firearm suppressors. There's how it works in the movies. There's how it works in real life. I did some EMP experiments just because I was kind of curious about it. Couldn't get it to do what the movies say it does. Doesn't. It's pretty actually, it's really not even dramatical. I without admitting anything at all, regardless of statute of limitations or anything. If you were to say, zap somebody's laptop with it, all it does is shut it off and then back on. What's up, Admiral Gibbs? If you would like, sir, you may get a link. You can do that on Discord by going to my Discord and getting it from a mod, or we could throw it up in the chat and just for you, and then we would take it back down again. See, we're in Mr. Boulet's wheelhouse right here with the EMP. Yeah, I can't. I'm not going to get in. I'm not going to go down rabbit holes.
I see Josie's in the comments.
Josie's in the comments?
It looks like a hands up. I think the hands up is support for annexing Canada. I'm pretty sure. That's what that.
So we're basically saying we need to add another 10 states onto America with the conversation so far. We get Japan in there. We get Canada, Mexico. Throw Ireland in as well because like we got fucked up.
Throw Ireland in. All the islands. All the islands are just extended states.
Annex all the British Isle, and it's like, wait a second, I think Tim just recreated the British Empire and just calls it America now. Wait a second.
That's what Teriak wants. Teriak actually really does want that because he is, as an Irishman, he yearns to be an American.
Yep. Get our own like American football team going. You know what I'm saying, boys? Like we can go places.
The land of Ire is just in a quick timeout. It'll rejoin the Union soon.
And we can trade you leprechauns. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. Well, it's very good. I think it's very interesting to me where we have I really enjoy these type of talks because we started off talking about what Trump was going to do in the first part of his presidency. Now we're talking world domination.
Just as God intended.
Yeah. If we did annex Canada, their money would finally be worth something.
True. Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have Gibbs.
Hey.
How are you, sir?
Well, a lot better now, obviously. How y'all doing?
Good, man. Good.
I forgot to mute that. All right, perfect. How's life going? What are we talking about? We talking about the drones? Are we talking about the new American Empire, Manifest Destiny 2.0 that we need to start?
Sure, man. We got so just so you know, the guy in the Irish-looking hat down there, that's Teriyaki. He's an Irishman. Don't call him English. He'll get really unhappy and spill his Lucky Charms.
True.
I see.
And Tim Hale is a former guest of our federal prison system, having been wrongfully convicted of a crime for January 6th shenanigans that he did not do, and he has proof. And he's just waiting on his pardon.
Nice.
And so now you know everybody.
Well, hell yeah. Sounds like a bunch of patriots. Woo! Except for the Irishman, There's nothing.
Well, he wants to be American really bad.
That seems like a general trend of all the people I know from the the UK and Ireland. They all want to be Americans.
Man,
nothing gets me harder than the Union Jack.
That came out way wrong.
That's I think it came out just like he wanted it to.
Exactly.
I think he's in love with some guy named Jack.
Oh baby.
Looking for a union with Jack, apparently.
Don't tell
only
Rose.
on Wednesdays.
Well, it does have the American colors, you know what I'm saying? Red, white, and blue.
It does.
Full circle.
What's the Irish flag? Is that the orange, green, and white one?
Green, white, and gold, yeah.
It's a tricolor.
Just another tricolor, just like France.
Italy.
Original 3 colors. It's the secret. It's the secret of the sauce.
That's what I call teriyaki,
See, let me show you something. See, Mexico, we try to get you fancy. My ancestors, when they, broke away from Spain, they got the flag, and then they started putting all this extra bullshit in there. And it looks cool, but, nobody takes you real seriously when there's 6,000 colors on there.
That right up.
I might as well just got the LGBTQ T-Rex flag or whatever at that point, and throw it up on there.
When we annex northern Mexico, we'll replace the golden eagle with the bald eagle.
That's right. We'll
Tim is an expansionist. Tim's an expansionist. He believes in annexing anything that touches us.
I think we should start annexing all these countries that we invade. Just be like, welcome to your new status as a
That's what
special
he just
economic
said.
zone. Yeah, like Iraq. We should just made it a special economic zone of the United States, and then they gave them no citizenship, and then just took all their shit. That's what we should have done. We should have kept doing it.
Well, if we wanted to go like full science fiction spacefaring empire mode, like every military base we have in a foreign country, we would turn into a colony, and just gradually that country would become us anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
America.
War of attrition. We're gonna win because you're gonna lose.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's been a wild day today. It's been fun stuff.
So Gibbs, what did you think about that debate the other night?
So first of all, I'm going to say that I now know that I'm richer than both of you. You want to know how I know? And you're going to laugh when I tell you. Are you ready for this? A real rich man doesn't pay any taxes because he hides it all. Just kidding.
So I used to do that, and I'm going to do it again.
And then you get audited.
I used to own a bunch of businesses, and I was able to basically pay no taxes, and life was great. And then my wife got a job with a W-2.
Damn, it's always the woman's fault.
Well, in her defense, she did make $750,000.
Women's rights always fucking us up, bro. I knew it.
She did make almost $1 million, but still, it just it fucks you so hard on the taxes, brother.
I gotta say though, that Exchange Monday was one great for Prime. I mean, that guy paid like what $4K, I think is the total number, and it was like 800 plus subs. So big win for Prime. You know, keep his channel going for a while. But I tell you what, I was really close to just like pulling out a like stack of like I don't know 100s and just start burning them and be like, hey, I could donate this to you. Watching the sadness fall out of your eyes as this burns would be way more funny.
Yeah, Prime would have cried if you had done that.
I know, but you know, I just enjoy seeing lefties cry. It's a real pleasure of mine.
Silvar Ogre says, "Take their women, drive the men into the sea." Yeah, absolutely. How else is this supposed to work?
Wait, what else do lefties do besides cry? I don't.
Yeah,
they lose.
They lose big.
Based.
Yeah.
You know what was interesting?
Participation trophies. You know,
Gibbs, I didn't want to say anything about it because I'm still new to that group, but I didn't actually say what he said. I said he literally.
Yeah, I mean, let me just tell you something. If you want. I've been there a while. They're just go ahead and get ready to be totally misquoted. And since you're conservative, you're gonna. This is why I did this on Leafy's last week. I made the joke. I was like, you know what? I have sources for everything I'm about to say, but I actually have 3 sources for everything I'm about to say. Unless y'all can also provide 3 sources, I don't want to hear source out of one of y'all tonight because every time a conservative says something, source, I don't believe it. You know, so like we're gonna misquote you. Except
I'm used to that too.
But I mean, that's really debate panels in general. I mean, so what do you do?
Yeah, but I mean, he really, really badly misquoted me. And then when I actually repeated the actual thing I said, and I said, "Hey, I think this is what you're talking about," he didn't say, "Oh yeah, you know, you're right." He just kept rolling.
Let me ask you this. So this is why I really wanted to come to you. What do y'all think about these drones? What do you think is going on with this? Like, I thought it was bullshit, like not even a story, and now it's.
We had one of the chatters just said that it's a military. Contractor that's doing testing, and the reason that nobody's saying anything about it is because they can't.
Radioactive.
Because they can't say anything about it.
That's what my dad says. He's a Navy contractor. He's an engineer. He's got pretty high clearance. Now he wouldn't tell me anything if they did. I'd just be surprised nukes tomorrow. But he thinks that he was saying I think that they're basically like looking for like radioactive trail because of like lost fissile radioactive material waste or whatever.
Well, that's something I've seen too, because a lot of these sightings are at night, and it's like typically if you like, what are you looking for at night? If you are looking for something, so it could be that they're looking for some sort of dangerous material, if that's what it is. But I definitely think
it seems more like it seems more like proof of concept testing, right? Like they've got a sensor array or they've got something that they're testing. Because if they were, otherwise they'd be like, "Oh yeah, it's nothing, guys. Don't worry about it. It's fine. It's just a drone. Who cares?" But
I really like your Hawk Tuah hat, by the way. I've been admiring that. I've been admiring it quite a bit, and I gotta say, maybe this is a crazy take. Anybody that could get bamboozled by the hot beam coin, you deserve to have lost your money, and it's a better place now.
I said the same thing. I said that exact same thing. I got the leather patch one too, also signed.
But all right, thank you so much for having me pop in. I didn't know you were gonna be like, come join us. I actually had something else going on. I was like, oh shit, all right, I'll pop in and come talk to you for a second. But thank you so much. I'd love to do more show with you in the future.
Yeah, dude. I'm not always around, but find me when I'm here.
Absolutely, man. You be good. Thanks again for having me.
Yeah, see you, dude. Have a great night.
Keep in touch with yourself.
I will. It's gonna be great.
That's awesome. All right. Daily Mail did an article on it, research and development for drones doing mapping. Yeah, that makes sense.
But just touching on the crypto thing a bit, what do you think about that whole idea of doing the Bitcoin reserve?
Bitcoin reserve?
Yeah, apparently Trump's trying to push a Bitcoin reserve. Then Michael Saylor was.
I don't think it'll happen. I mean, it could happen. Bitcoin is becoming more and more legitimate. I'm not really sure how that's going to work out, but I don't know, man. I'm kind of interested in how this is all going to work out with Bitcoin and the other coins right now, that are out right now. I've been, I've been following XRP
Same.
a lot. And I think I actually like XRP more than I do. I like XRP more than I like basically Bitcoin or anything else, because I think XRP actually has the potential to be a real traded, more of a currency than Bitcoin, right?
True.
So, and it just got all of the approvals and everything, and I think that's all valuable stuff. But we'll see. And they're not claiming it's limited like Bitcoin, right? I don't think they can just in theory print more of it, but you can. But it's not. It's just different than Bitcoin. But whatever.
Yeah, because it's not
testing mapping at night. The contract was awarded back in 2018, if I remember the story correctly. Yeah. I mean, look, I believe it. And, mapping at night when the roads are less congested does kind of make sense, right? I don't know. Whatever. But, yeah. So, I'm completely shot now. I forgot exactly what I was... LIDAR. Oh, yeah, that's true. LIDAR does work. That's why you get more speeding tickets at night. Just, not personal experience or anything. I'm just saying that. Yeah. Yeah. So what else has been new? What else is new with you, Tim? I'm curious how you're doing. I know you've been doing the talk show, or not talk show thing, but you've been on X a lot. You've been bouncing around a lot, man. What's new?
I mean, that's pretty much it. I mean, trying to get my finger in a few different pies. I'm uploading all my different interviews and stuff like that. Just trying to get the message out, especially for some of because my family has a foundation for the January 6 families. So we raise money so that they can pay their bills and stuff. So we're doing a drive now so that people donate. Yeah, because hopefully this will be the last Christmas these kids have without their parents. So we're just trying to make sure we can get funds for that. But otherwise, not much. I had a debate that was scheduled for tonight with some fucking leftist, but then he bailed. So,
obviously.
Yeah, but not much else. Not much else.
Yeah, I mean that's that seems to be the way it goes. You just have all of this this stuff. It's I don't know, man. I'm pretty disappointed with I'm kind of disappointed with the overall people that we have out there these days. It just seems like, there's so many, not people, but I don't know. It just seems like we should have more. I hate saying this. God Almighty. It seems like that we should have a little more tolerance, right? And mostly I'm speaking of the left. I joke about it all the time how tolerant the left isn't, because they're just not tolerant of anything, right? They demand a lot, and they want me to be tolerant in very specific ways. But it's just weird, man. It's just weird, And maybe I'm the only one that thinks that way. Maybe, that's, maybe it's, I don't know. Maybe it's,
I think it depends on what you're having tolerance for. Like, I believe in a pretty open society. I believe in a pluralistic society. I think it's a natural, I think it's an inevitable thing when you have such a large nation like ours,
Yeah.
But I think
Sure.
I mean, at the same time, like, it doesn't mean I don't think communists should get thrown out of helicopters. So, I mean, I don't know. It depends what we're talking about.
I mean, I'm not going to disagree with you about the communists and helicopters. I mean, but here's the thing, man. If you're going to be like is it wrong if you come to me and say, hey, you need to be more accommodating to stupid people? Hey, it's Chaotic Truth live in the house. I see Charles Darwin is in the house too. You, Chaotic Man, if you want to come up, feel free, buddy. I've got the. I'll shoot you. Well, I don't have you on. Well, maybe I have you on Discord. I'll shoot you the link, or we can post it in the chat or something. If you want to come up, if not, you've been on a lot lately, so if you don't want to come up, that's cool. But if you have all of these things, right, like all of the things that we disagree about, if you're not willing to actually listen to what I have to say, then you're not tolerant at all. Like, there's zero tolerance, right? And that's my biggest problem with the leftists, and where it really falls apart, where it really just becomes a real problem, is when we're talking about issues the left loves, like trans. You can't even talk to somebody about trans and disagree with them even this much without it becoming, thermonuclear warfare.
I think is like, I think I can have conversations with pretty much anyone across the spectrum, if you consider it to be a spectrum. But I think that when it comes to the left, I think that you have left or left of center individuals who you can have substantive disagreements on. And then I think that a large portion of what we would call the left are not really left. I think a lot of them are just mentally ill, or they're fanatics. And I think that a lot of people on that side, and again, I don't believe in the left-right paradigm in the first place, but a lot of people who self-identify as left, I think, are frankly just, like I said, they're fanatics who latch onto a cause, and the whole logic thing doesn't actually matter. Like, I can see the logic of someone who's left of center economically. Like I say, we have a difference of opinion on the welfare state, or we have a difference of opinion on pretty much anything. I mean, obviously, we didn't agree on everything just now when it came to foreign policy or international affairs, and I think we would both consider ourselves to be right of center. Like that, we can have a substantive difference and then have a substantive conversation about it.
Sure.
But then I think that you have people who just want to spurg out because it's a quasi-religious experience they're having. They just want to crusade, and I think
I think you're right.
Yeah,
I think that's 100%.
You just can't reason with some people, unfortunately. But I think that there are people who are certainly left of center that I would have serious disagreements with. But I think we could have a reasoned conversation and maybe even change each other's minds.
Well, like particularly about this whole trans issue, like I'd implore everyone to watch Jordan Peterson's episode with Graham Linehan. Where like Graham was like one of these like lefties, and like when Trump first got into office, like he bought the whole thing hook, line, and sinker. He was like one of the people who were leading the charges against people getting cancelled and all that. but now his eyes have been completely open to it, where because essentially if you just break down the whole situation, like they call everyone like Nazis and shit like that, but what were the Nazis doing to gay kids? They were sterilizing them, which is exactly what they do. They're using the exact same drugs, the exact same procedures now, which is like cutting people's genitals off and all this kind of crazy shit, giving them the same drugs they give to sex offenders, to chemically castrate them. Like it's gone crazy. And if you were to say I have some doubts about this whole thing that's going on, you're the bigot, you're the one that's quote unquote crazy. When, like we're kind of saying here, it's like telling a kid that's not allowed to have a license, not allowed to join the military, not allowed to own a gun, not even allowed to have a beer, that you can make a permanent life altering decision, is there's no logic to it. Do you know what I mean? It is a dogma. It's just a series of beliefs where it's created and morphed into its own new religion now, where like all of a sudden like men can be women can be men. That's never been the case, and there's no species where that's even the case.
Yeah, right. But you and I can have a very like nuanced discussion about that. And even if I don't agree with you, we're going to have no problem. I'm tolerant of your opinion. You're tolerant of mine. Same thing, just happened with Tim Hale and I about, the difference in how we look at the U.S. position in world affairs and globally. We have some, and honestly, those are some really basic, hardcore differences, right? But we didn't argue. We argued, but we didn't like come to blows or yell at each other or spurg out or rage quit or any of that kind of stuff. It was just a nice conversation. And, if he is perfectly free, this is the difference. He is perfectly free to have whatever opinion he wants. And apparently he respects my right to be perfectly free to have whatever opinion I want. And what we get into with a lot of people, and I'm not going to define them left, right, center, whatever. You have a lot of people who it's their way or the highway, pal. Either you agree with me 100% or fuck off and die. Right? So it's just the way it is.
I draw the conclusion or a similarity to it's like sports teams.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like, this is my team, whatever they say goes, which is like, it's contrary to the position that the leftists try to push. They're like, oh, we're all philosophical and we're very sophisticated with our words and all this stuff. But when you actually like basically put them in a position where they have to analyze their actual logic or their thinking, it falls flat on its face and essentially just comes to, well, this guy who looks like he's posh and like knows what he's saying says this, ergo that's the truth. Whereas they're not actually rationalizing out their own arguments or their own actual case for this. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I think that's pretty accurate. Silvar Ogre says he's going to answer his question, Irish question. Jesus doesn't walk around Dublin acting like he's Bono. I'm not really sure. I missed something.
Is he saying Bono walks around acting like he's Jesus? Is that the joke?
Yeah, Bono's the biggest like embarrassment. Whatever the opposite of a national treasure is, that's what Bono is.
National turd.
Yes, celebrities don't really do too well in Ireland. It's almost like a negative thing to be a celebrity in Ireland because you're basically the butt of everyone's joke. Yeah,
like an Irish celebrity.
Exactly.
O'Connor.
Yeah, and look what happened to her. She shaved her head. You know what I'm saying? It never goes well.
That's true. It's a good point. Solid work there, sir. Solid work there. But at any rate, so the left is just, all right, look, I'm not going to, and I hate, I don't want to be that guy who constantly just like points at the left and says the left, even though I am kind of that guy. But the reality is that there's a lot of people out there that just have no tolerance. They can't listen to anything. If you absolutely, you could absolutely destroy them in a debate and they still would not admit they're wrong.
Mm-hmm. Because a lot of it, like a modern day,
they wouldn't admit that it's okay for you to have that opinion. And this is actually my biggest problem with all of it is I enjoy discussing a lot of these esoteric things. Like, a lot of people don't necessarily believe that Trump is going to be great for the country. My wife is on the fence. I'm like, I'm kind of on the fence too, because there are some um there there are some people in his cabinet picks that are kind of questionable to me, but maybe he knows something I don't, because I don't know those people. I know what I read in the paper. That's it. So again, where a leftist would be, that's wrong, hang him up by his toenails. I'm like, well, I don't know about his choices. It's his choice to make. He's the one who elected president, not me. So, he knows those guys. I don't, So I don't know. I really dislike having the discussion about tolerance, because I feel like that when the center and right discuss tolerance, it's in a very real and personal way. But when the leftists do it, it's just always an attack. Yeah. I don't know. What do you guys think? Where you guys at on that?
I think it's like a sign of the times. Like, a lot of this, like, we are living in a very kind of left wingish, or kind of like hyper liberal kind of like thing. So like, a lot of the, like, this criticism will come to a lot of like left leaning people, at least. And like, to me, it's kind of like the horseshoe theory. Do you know what the horseshoe theory is? It's like the whole kind of like political spectrum, where it's like, it's supposed to be like a line where it's like you have like the far right, far left, and then there's like a lot of people just fall into the middle of the like center left, center right kind of thing. But it's almost like there's a push for this, where it's like they want to kind of like, they don't want any kind of tolerance. They want like anyone who's right to be very extreme right, fanatical, and the same thing for the left, because then we just get pushed into the extreme. That's true. Do you know what I mean?
Tim is a perfect example of that. He walked through a building and they said he was a crazed lunatic.
Yeah, because it's very easy to just like dismantle a whole kind of argument. This was in the Jordan Peterson with Graham Linehan. It's very easy just to dismay like any of these people who are against like the trans movement, or just have questions about it. As a bigot, it's like, oh, they're just a bigot. They just hate trans people. They just want to like see us all die, and that's why you see that rhetoric is very kind of like extremist in terms of that, where it's not actually dealing with the arguments of how can you justify giving chopping a child's genitals off. Like there is no justification for it, because it's such a crazy ideology. But that's why you have to have this kind of extremist kind of mentality, or fanatical mentality, where you don't have people asking questions. And when you have like supposedly like left leaning people that like aren't even willing to hear out questions, or aren't even able to kind of give logic behind questions and stuff like that as well, that's where you get a lot of this kind of fanatical takes and stuff like that. It's like whatever this person says is gospel, and anyone who's against them is a bigot. Do you know what I mean? Because it's just a hand wave. It's all kind of like, and that's why you see like a lot of the where you're mentioning there, where like he's kind of like intentionally misrepresenting you, because it's like this whole kind of optics game. You said this, but what you're saying is, you know what I mean? It's like the Cathy Newman Jordan Peterson interview. It's like, what you're actually saying is this. It's like, no, this is what I said, and you can deal with what I said, or you can try to play this optics game and all that kind of shit, where we're actually not discussing the point. You're just trying to brand me. You're just trying to paint me as a certain character, as the evil villain, and you're not actually talking through actual logic. You know.
I think there's actually.
I'm usually the evil villain. I'm okay with that.
I think that what he said about the sports analogy is pretty good. Is that you have a subset of society that views everything as a zero-sum game between teams, and I think even historically, you can go back to before Socrates. There are those who view discussions as a bilateral sort of thing, between different parties exchanging ideas. And then you have those who basically just want to lecture others. And so anybody who runs contrary to their perspective is an enemy or a subversive. And so I think you could see that in the way certain leftists, their tactic in debate is to talk over people, or to treat them as a dissident, I suppose. But then again, you could have what we have here, where we're just exchanging ideas. And even in debates, there are rules to the more formalized debates, because it's exactly what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be an exchange of ideas, even if they're ideas that are in contention. But then you have people who just want to talk over each other or, label wrong think. So.
Yeah, it's all true.
Someone in the comments mentioned Piers Morgan yelling at Destiny for behaving pretty much the way you were describing it, which, I mean, that's a good I think comparison.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I just, I mean, because I've been having these debates, it's very interesting that I can disagree with anybody and just not care. Like, dude, it's your opinion, whatever. But you guys did miss out on the. You guys have got to start watching the Monday night show where I'm on the Reverie that Prime puts out. The host is left, like super left. Like, he misquoted me so hard, as you heard Gibbs say, and he did not apologize when he was wrong. He had a talking point. Personally, what he had a talking point he wanted to make. To do that, he had to misquote me to say it, which was fine. I still answered it, even though it was a misquote. I mean, it was fine. And then, so you usually have at least two other leftists and two libertarians and two kind of conservative guys or girls. And I go over the subject that we're going to be debating Monday afternoon on the Monday afternoon show. And then I do the show I go on the show that night. The best part of that debate this past week was when I came onto the show. I was still having some problems. They were having problems with StreamYards. They were going to do it through Discord, and I had some problems getting Discord to do all of the things that it needed to do with OBS, with Streamlabs and everything. It was just a little bit of I was not really focusing on the show. I was focusing on getting everything set up right so I could give a good show to my audience. And I hear this guy talking about the WNBA and how that and one person was rightfully critical of the WNBA because they are being subsidized and they suck. Nobody wants to watch them. Even women don't want to watch them. And as a business, it's failing. And the guy's like, no, how can it be? It's sports. I mean, sports team. People love sports. They're going to watch it. They just need to, whatever. People just need to watch it. And the guy was starting out. He started giving a bunch of nonsense business examples of how it was so great because people love their teams and blah, 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 and all this other bullshit. And I really don't know what was said to start because I wasn't really tuned into it. But where I came in was he was talking about how they were still profitable, even though and people and the investors were happy with the teams. I'm like, there's no way. And because they the thing is that by all metrics, this is a failing business. They have decreased ticket sales. They've lowered the price of tickets. They're paying the players more, but they're making less, right? The owners are. I said, there's no business that survives that. Like, even just having the same level of profits every year is bad, because if you don't grow your business every single year, and let's just say, and this happens with a lot of small to medium businesses. You have a guy, he goes out, he starts a business, he gets it, he pumps it up to about $3 million, right? $3 million a year. And that seems to be where most small businesses kind of live, and they just kind of stop there. And the reason for that is you get about 10 guys working for you, and they know what they're doing. And, or maybe you have 10 or 15, however many, you have a small staff, and but the owner typically doesn't want to hire anybody because he doesn't want the quality to suffer, or he doesn't feel like he can trust. He has, can't have people hire people into trust. So he gets stuck at this $3 million mark. And that's a dangerous place to be, because every single year your costs go up, right? If your revenue is not increasing for more than a couple of years, you're failing in business because your rent goes up on your building. Your taxes go up every year. Your salaries go up. Your employees want to get paid. Everybody wants a raise every year, so your salaries are going to go up. Medical costs go. All of your costs increase. So if your profits are staying, or if your sales are staying the same, your profits shrink every year, and eventually your business is ruined. And I kind of made a version of that statement, and I went after this dude. I'm like, you don't know the first thing about business. Let the adults talk. I really went after him pretty hardcore. I literally said, let the adults talk, and that he didn't know anything about business like 4 or 5 times. I pissed him off to the point that he donated $4,000 to the show, to the host. It's awesome.
That's a problem you want to have.
That's marketing 101 grade. You know what I'm saying? That's proven like the financial gains. Like, listen, I made $4,000 of you just by insulting you. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I didn't, but the host did. But that dude was so angry. He was so mad. And he's like, you match me. And I'm like, I don't give money to people on Twitch, especially left. I mean, I didn't say leftist, but I'm not giving a leftist money. It's funny. That's crazy. Why would I do that? I give my taxes. So yeah. But I've told him, I'm like, well, he's like, well, you called me out on this. And I'm like, yeah, because you don't seem to know how business works. If there's like the most basic business idea is you better keep expanding, because if you're not, you're dying, right? Forward or death. That's it. That's all there is to it. And so I don't know. One of the, I don't know what his deal was, but I was like, and then that's what Gibbs was talking about when he came in, and he's like, I can tell you who the rich guy was. It was a guy that wasn't going to spend a dime on any of it. And I'm like, yeah, I wasn't going to either. I did give a few bucks on whatever last night, just because it was funny. But I'm like, I'm not donating to that guy. Why would I do that? He's a leftist. Don't do that.
But that's a good point you make.
Mental health issues. Sorry.
That's a good point you make in terms of like the way people think millionaires are versus like the actual millionaires. Whereas like typically the millionaire is the person that looks like they're cheap. Do you know what I mean? But it's because they're good at money. They're not going to spend on lavish things. They're not going to buy a Bugatti or a Lamborghini. They're actually going to be wise at the money, invest it, so then they get more money back on the thing, rather than I'm just going to dump $4,000 on the show kind of thing. You know what I mean? Just because I got offended.
Well, that's why there's the trope about people who win the lottery always ending up poor again, because they don't know how to manage their money.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's a real thing. That is a very real thing. It's interesting because I had, pardon me. So I had this whole discussion with this guy once about how and why he should spend money, right? And I'm like, well, for me to spend money on something, I either have to really want to do it, or it has to be such a great deal for me that literally I'm an idiot if I don't do it, right? There's really no middle ground there. And now I break a lot of my own rules now because, well, to be frank, I'm retired. I don't care. So, and I probably should care more, but I don't. And the, Ninja Rich. Yeah, that's pretty accurate. But even then, I can't stop. I can't stop. So like I'm going the reason there will not be a Friday night show is because I have to go. We're driving up to a town, not far but not near, and I've got to look at a business to buy. And I like the business. I think it's going to be great. I think overall it's going to be really good. The numbers all make sense to me. It's the right price. It'll expand relatively easily, and I can sell it in 4 or 5 years to a PE, more than likely, and or I can sell it to somebody else, and then I can make a pretty good chunk on it. And in the meantime, I make money. So, um, but that's just one of many things I'm doing. But I just don't understand how people act like that. Like, but I mean, I get it to some degree. At any rate, guys, I'm tired, and I actually I'm starting to lose my focus on this deal, and I'm just really relaxed too. So I think what I'm going to do is we're going to do the final thoughts. We might end like 5 minutes early, but we'll see. Let's get Teriak in here. What's your final thoughts tonight, Teriak? What are you thinking tonight?
So yeah, we've covered a lot of things, like the whole kind of Trump coming into office, the Ukraine war, Middle East, kind of global politics. Tim, his master plan on how to take over the world, and even kind of even like
man, he's got it dialed.
100%. But even just like I said, the kind of like touching off on the last points there in terms of like your finances and money and stuff like that. That's something that I'm trying to kind of look into and kind of like branch out on as well.
Yeah,
I don't want to kind of
afternoon.
Yeah, 100%. Because I definitely think that like I could talk a bit in terms of like diet and stuff like that as well. I've talked a bit about kind of budgeting, kind of getting your expenses down as low as possible and things like that. But in terms of like investing and stuff like that as well, like that's something I've been kind of like looking into the past couple of months, but I haven't really had anything that I can point to that like I'd feel confident enough to actually kind of like do a video on it like that. But it's something that like, it's particularly like the crypto market, it's just something that's like, yeah, people say it's volatile, but when a market's volatile, that's where you can make the better gains and things like that. Yeah. So definitely finance is something that like I'm looking into heavily nowadays. And then I have I actually have a debate tomorrow night with well, not really a debate, just kind of like going on to Raging Tomatoes panel talking about no fault divorce as well, which is another thing, just kind of whole kind of relationship kind of,
yeah, I might jump on there after the when they do the open panel. I don't know if I'll be there for the actual show. I don't know.
Yeah, I think the first hour is just me and Sarah just shooting shit essentially, and then it's going to open up. So like no pressure as well. But it's definitely like a good kind of like topic to talk about, the kind of the current state of affairs, because the main kind of like question I have, and that's probably my best piece of advice I give to people, is like formulate your kind of arguments in terms of questions, because the best thing you can have is a simple question where these lefties just they can't answer it. Do you know what I mean? And one thing I would say is like, why would a guy bother getting married in modern day? Do you know what I mean? It all it is just risk for him. Do you know what I
mean? I disagree with that. I get where the red pill talks about that a lot. I personally don't. I don't believe in that. I think that's it's just like I don't. I mean, we'll have to talk. We'll talk about that another time. It's a good subject because I have a real problem with a lot of the red pill and red pill adjacent. The way that they characterize women is not inaccurate, but it's also not. The characterization's accurate. However, your actions, the way their prescriptions for men's actions are inaccurate, and I think that it's wrong. I know it's wrong, actually.
We could fix marriage in America if everybody just gets a thick Eskimo mommy. That's just, come on, guys.
Yeah, I got him thinking about the Eskimo. He's going to be calling her today. He's probably already sent her a DM. Yo, what's up?
Warming up the igloo. Warming it up.
What's in it for you, Angry Casper? I don't know. Someone else's kid? Why would you have someone else's kid, Angry Casper? Are you presuming a lot? I guess. I don't know. I have 2 kids, and they're both mine. And that's the way it's supposed to be. I'll wait. Tim, what about you, sir? How about you tonight?
I think America's best days lie ahead. I think that we've had a really rough patch, but bumpiness aside, I'm looking forward to the future. I can't wait for January 20th. I think every civilization has its ups and downs, but I think that America has rightly risen from the swamps to the stars, and the great integrated American empire of North America will be unified under Trump's great wisdom, and we will make North America great again, and we will liberate our Canadian brothers. And no, I think I enjoyed bullshitting tonight. Thank you for having me on again, Grid. I always like talking geopolitics. My weaponized autism cannot wait to target countries like Russia or Korea, wherever. So whenever I have the opportunity to talk out of my ass, I always appreciate doing so.
Well, I'm glad you were here. You were always welcome on the show. You were always a great conversationalist, and that, you know, unlike a lot of people, that actually means something to me. So I really appreciate it. I appreciate every time you're on. I appreciate Teriak. I appreciate you coming up tonight. I wish you had kind of cammed up, you know, so we could see that that glorious pale white. There he is. Look at that. Look at that white.
I'm not blonde anymore as well. Yeah, I'm finally grown into a man.
I saw that. You look like a dude.
Yeah. I'm trying to fight against this lesbian stereotype, although I think I can use this like stereotype as being a lesbian, like against it, like fight against this LGBT. Because now I've been commenting on Rachel's post on X saying I identify as a lesbian, so you guys can't say I'm wrong anymore.
Yes, I appreciate both you guys coming up, and I appreciate Gibbs coming on as well. Chief Wahoo, we touched on the omnibus bill and how Elon torpedoed it with a single tweet, or whatever they call it now, post on X something. Angry Casper, certainly you're free to marry whoever you want. If you want to marry a single mom, then please do so. But if you do not want to, you don't have to. It's an odd concept, I know, but I'm sure that you can grasp, sir. I have confidence in your ability to think clearly. Chief Wahoo says, Teriak, shave your head and grow a beard. That will work. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a great night. I've had a good time. I'm going to send you guys over to Wrestler. I think Speakeasy's over there on his panel doing a little invasion, trying to give that guy some love. Please go over, watch, like, and whatever to Wrestler's stream if you like him. If not, that's okay. I'm going to leave you guys with Andrew Wilson making fun of D-Gens and laughing his ass off. Good night, folks. Be cool. Wear glasses if you need them. Get off my lawn.
Yeah, I just answered your question. Can you tell me what epistemology means?
Epistemology is the study of the epistles. I mean, you can. I told me that a husband and wife is supposed to be the representation of God and the church. He said he's a husband. I asked him if he sees himself as the embodiment of God, and he said no. That doesn't make any sense.
Wait, what is the epistles?
The epistles are the apostles. Are you talking about the apostles?
No,